Follow.
Hey everybody and
Kevin,
welcome. Thank you Headlock Gaming for the like, and thank you Kevin Matsumura for the follow. Thank you so much. And also everyone, welcome, and holy shit, we're at 17 views already.
Awesome.
Oh my god, this is the most I've ever seen on this Thank you so much, all of you. And welcome all of you guys to our amazing review of Mortal Kombat, the movie and the video game. The first time we've ever done a video game and a movie in the same review. So, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yes.
Join me is, of course, Dr. Death, of course.
Yo, yo, yo.
And,
hey,
of course...
guys?
Yep, and of course we have MasterChief2011 returning again for this review.
Good afternoon, everyone.
But yeah, holy... Mother of God.
That is outstanding.
I cannot believe there's so many people here. Welcome all of you. I'm glad to have you all here. Also, yeah, the viewer counter is being a total turd.
Well, that's... Well, it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's not going to register anything. I'm just going to keep it off for now. Alright, so, anyway, guys. Today, we're going to be reviewing possibly one of the most influential fighting games of all time, as well as, of course, one of the most influential movies of the 90s.
Can I say it?
Both of them with the... Yeah, go for it.
Mortal Kombat!
Yeah, Mortal Kombat, that's right. And I have to admit, I'm actually very excited. So we're going to get started with the video game first, and we're going to do the movie second. Honestly, I have good things. Also, Rye Guy was supposed to join us for the review, but unfortunately he was busy this Saturday, so we decided to do his scores ahead of time. And for those of you guys who want to know his scores, he gave a 9 pretty much across the board.
Why don't we wait till we're all done?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah,
and then we can do it.
Yeah, we'll just do it along with it. All right. So, first of all, of course, I gotta ask this question: what is your guys's I guess you could say exposure to Mortal Kombat? What was your first exposure to the series?
Well, I'm the oldest, so guess what? I saw it first. You know,
Yeah.
I was there. I lived it. I was part of that experience. You know, live.
So,
right there
what was
and then.
Mortal Monday like when the game finally released on console?
Well, I guess you would say, for me anyway, it was more like the movie definitely went up there and inspired of course, the video game. But I think
the video game came first.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, you're right. So I guess what it really comes back down to is that it was just wondering what console you were playing it on. True. Because each console had
its own version.
Its own version. And some had blood, some didn't. You know what I mean? Some had the kills and stuff like that. So it depended on who you talked to, is how they played that game, particularly like it was on the Nintendo or if it was on the Sega Genesis and those types of things right there. That's where it is. But then again,
how was the arcade stuff?
Well, the arcade stuff. I'm an arcader, so I wasn't really into the fighting games, but I will say that I did play it, and it was very good. You got to remember, the actual arcade games were a lot more
intuitive, I think.
Well,
right?
it had to be intuitive because everything was done by hand. You're standing, joysticks, buttons, and stuff. So you learn pretty quick how to go up there and navigate through. And as I said, for me, it's more intuitive to play it on an arcade than it actually is on a controller.
Yeah.
A controller, to me, being an older guy, does not like the whole control factor over here. It's great with the joystick, great with your buttons and stuff.
Nice.
But the battles were epic.
Oh yeah.
They were epic.
What about you? What about you, Dr. Death? What was your first exposure to Mortal Kombat?
Well, I would have to say my first exposure to Mortal Kombat was when I was in an arcade game as well. So that started it off, and then I graduated to playing it on the Sega Genesis as well.
Nice.
It was awesome. And then I graduated to the PlayStation versions.
Nice.
Those seem to flow very well with me, and I love playing as Liu Kang. Liu Kang is my favorite character out of all of them, and I like playing as Jax as well too.
Nice.
But my most recent one was on the PlayStation 3. I think on the PlayStation 4. Oh my god, it has advanced so well, and I love playing it on the PlayStation 4. I don't have it as of currently, but if I had to say my favorite Mortal Kombat was, I think it was 5.
So basically okay. Mortal Kombat Deception.
Yeah, right. That was my favorite.
My personal favorite will always be the first 3. Yeah. Because the trilogy itself was just unbelievably amazing. What about you? Which one would be your favorite?
Well, you got to understand, we go with the arcade.
So go with the first.
I guess you would say that I am the original. So I'm going to go with that.
All right. Yeah. All right. So honestly though, and yes, I know and here's the thing. We're not just incorporating the arcade version. We're incorporating, yes, all of the ports, which means the Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis, the Game Boy, and yes, even the Tiger Electronics games, because I actually did play those once. I hated them. But yeah, we're just gonna concentrate mainly on the arcade, the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, since they were the most popular and the ones that honestly garnered the attention of the world.
Yes.
So we'll be concentrating mainly on those 3. If we tried doing the handheld versions, good lord, I think we'd be losing our minds.
Well, I just think that this takes away from, because I think we should be talking maybe about the arcade, or not necessarily the arcade, but the early on consoles with the original movie right over there, because
as well as the arcade.
Well, yeah,
the one that started it all.
You can still do that, but I think that will at least be able to keep us more focused, because once you start getting into that, it's like running down the rabbit hole.
Very true. And not to mention, there are so many different versions of Mortal Kombat. It's unbelievable.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh heck yeah.
It was one of the few franchises that got ported so many times for its trilogy alone. And there's not many games I know of that have that type of repertoire. Because Mortal Kombat's been ported to the Game Boy, the Sega Game Gear, what?
Even to the PC, there are some that are on the PC.
That's true. And heck, if you want to go even further down the rabbit hole, there's the Nokia that also had one. There's also the Tiger Electronics Gamecom.
Yeah.
Seriously, Mortal Kombat was everywhere.
Yes.
And I definitely know a lot. And not to mention, it was the game that started the ESRB rating system. It was the one that finally kickstarted that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was mainly because of head rip-off with spine included.
Yes.
Wow, I sound like a salesman.
Great. I go great for an anatomy class.
Very true.
I mean, that's how I looked at it.
Well, to a certain degree, yeah, but then there's also the tons of ribs of some of the other ones. A human doesn't have that many ribs. But again,
true. A human does not have that great healing power.
True. So, we're going to get started with the video game first, and honestly, what do you guys think your scores are going to be for the original Mortal Kombat game?
I'm probably going to shoot for the video game probably about a 43.
A 43?
I think a 43, yes.
All right, what about you, Dr. Death? What about you?
I think mine is going to be more like 45.
45?
If not, 40.
All right, so we'll go 45 here.
Okay.
Ooh, if I'm also incorporating the console versions, I think mine's going to be around the 45 as well, because there are a few things that in the console versions that did not translate well from the arcade.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times you got to understand, back in the day, a lot of times whatever happened on the arcade never translated well onto the actual, because number one, the computing power, the graphics, it was
look at Dragon's Lair.
Oh, Dragon's Lair would be the number one part right there. You take a look back. This came back in like 83. Yeah, 83, 84. And at that time, you got to understand, back 83, 84, we had to pay $1 to play that game.
Not to mention, it makes sense because the technology was so advanced.
Technology was just really advanced, but if you take a look, it would never translate to anything because you were still dealing with 8-bit, you're still dealing 16, starting to move up to 32-bit and stuff like this. Yeah. So you really did not have a lot with computing power. The only thing that could have kept up with it was the PC.
Yeah.
And even the PC had issues too, because you had cooling issues and all those other different things also. Exactly. That's exactly what it was doing.
Yeah, luckily enough, it's been ported to, of course, a lot of modern consoles, and it looks so beautiful.
Oh, definitely.
All right, so let's get started with story. And honestly, the story of the Mortal Kombat series is pretty simple, straight to the point. There's a big tournament that is going to decide the fate of the Earthrealm. Your mission is to get through every single opponent, defeat Shao Kahn, and win the day. Actually, technically, no. Shao Kahn didn't show up until Mortal Kombat 2. Mortal Kombat 1, the main boss was Shang Tsung.
Shang Tsung, yes.
So defeat him, and you pretty much win Mortal Kombat 1. Shao Kahn didn't show up until 2 and afterwards.
Well, that was... because,
though he was, of course, the announcer.
Because they lost. You got that? That was the reason why.
True. Also, he was the announcer for the game, too.
Yes. So, but for me, the story in itself, even though simplistic, was just a brilliant storyline anyway. I would give that a 10.
Yeah.
And the reason why was it was just mortals against the immortals. You know what I mean?
More like mortals against other realms.
Well,
Earth against other realms.
But technically, you could almost... It's just mere mortals versus, the immortals in a
supernatural
sense.
Beings,
the supernatural beings and stuff like that.
Mechanical monstrosities. They were... basically gods.
Yes, in a sense. And then win. That was the really cool part about that story.
I also like the story of but this is going into characters. But yeah, the story is very simplistic, but I think it works very well. Especially since you're getting people into this combat scenario. You have to defeat your opponents. And it's really interesting.
Well, and plus, when you add the element of death, it's not like you're going into a fight like you're going into the ring or something like that, and after 10 rounds or after you get knocked out, you're done. That's not how it works.
Oh, yeah, when your opponent tries to give you a fatality,
yes.
You're pretty much screwed.
Yep.
All right, what about you, Dr. Death? What do you think of the story?
Well, if I had to rate the story, I'm going to rate that story on 5. I'm going to rate it a 10. Because, I enjoyed the storyline. It was pretty easy to flow with. And for 2, for even 1, still a 10. Because, I liked where you had to go against Shang Tsung.
Shang Tsung?
Say his name. Shang Tsung.
Shang Tsung. There you go.
Shang Tsung Accord. Yeah. Totally.
There you go.
Shang Tsung, I like how you had to fight him as the ending boss, and, knowing me in my gaming years, I was a freaking beast at that game. I freaking defeated him on the first try.
It was
hard, though.
I was struggling with Shang Tsung. It took me at least 50 tries before I finally beat him.
I guess, when you start taking a look at, let's go with the character right over here, but the thing I liked about him was the fact that he utilized what he learned from you,
like his ability to take a part of your soul and become you.
Exactly, and then to go up there and to be able to use that against you to weaken you, to soften you up, as a distraction, which is nice. But I like Liu Kang's thing. You got so many souls, but no soul of your own. Remember that?
Yeah.
In the movie, that's what.
We'll
that's
talk
what
about
kind of,
that when we get there.
But yeah,
I'm gonna give it a 10 as well. The simplicity of the story is just enough that it's easy to follow, but it's still complex enough that you could easily make it into its own franchise, which they basically did.
Yeah.
And that's why right now Mortal Kombat it's up to number 11. Is the fact that even though the story is simplistic, but you can see that how much you can build on it. This thing has the ability to morph into anything that you want, and that is what's really nice about having a story that is simplistic. But just like you said, there's a complexness to it right over there, and the complexness we'll probably hit it when it comes into the characters, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, true enough on that. Yeah. I think it's pretty interesting. Oh, hold on.
Yes.
Hey there, Phoenix Fire. How you doing there? But yeah, when it comes down to the history when it comes down to the story, I think it's really good. Now we're going to go on to characters, and by sweet Jesus. Here's the thing. You cannot, and I mean, you cannot ever forget these characters. Liu Kang, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Sonya Blade, Johnny Cage, Kano, Raiden. I think they were the
Goro. Yeah, Goro.
No, I'm talking about playable characters. But I'm
also
Goro.
You're right. No,
yeah,
Goro was a
playable
character.
No, he was not. Not in the original.
Not in the original.
He didn't become playable until 10.
Oh.
Yeah, 10 he was available to play. Let me see. There's hold on. Kano, Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, Jax. No, he was 2. Sorry. Liu Kang. Then there was Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and I know there's 8 characters, I think, or 6.
No, I think there was 8.
God bless it. Now,
don't worry about it. Let's keep going on.
I think you unlock Shang Tsung at the end of 2.
No, yeah, you do actually, yeah.
Well, because the thing is, you still, to make it go, you still needed to fight him at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because he was basically the boss back in that day.
Yeah. Let me double check though to make sure.
Everybody.
Well, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to tell you right now, my score for characters is a 10. And I'll tell you that each one had very, very distinct. Each character had a distinct characteristics of themselves. You know what I mean? A persona. They had their own persona. It wasn't one that bled over to anything else. Liu Kang was the one that's supposed to go in there, the shining light that's going to go up there and take over. Sub-Zero was Sub-Zero. Scorpion was Scorpion. You know what I'm trying to mean? Sonya Blade, Johnny Cage. All of them, Kano, every one of them had a...
All right, so according to this, the original characters were Liu Kang, Scorpion, Raiden, Sub-Zero, Sonya Blade, and Kano, Johnny Cage, and yes, Jax was there.
Oh, Jax, okay.
So yeah, there were a total of 8.
And if you take a look at Raiden, too, Raiden, as I said, each one was very, very distinct in every part, and I think that's what really made it endearing. They worked together, they came together when they needed to. All I can say is that the character development, the character way is I just really like the difference. The only thing, if I was going to, and I'll have to ding it when it comes to gameplay.
We'll go to that.
Yeah, then I'll go to that here in a second.
But when it comes down to the characters, each and every one of them has their own backstory, which is shown in if you guys wait. Before you start the game, sometimes they go onto a character screen where it shows you the backstory of each of the characters and how Johnny Cage was a actor before he ever got into the Mortal Kombat scene. Sonya Blade was in Special Forces along with Jax. There was also Liu Kang, who was a Shaolin monk. There was, of course, Raiden, who was the God of Thunder. And
what
then
about
there was
Kung Lao?
Kung Lao. Kung Lao was 2.
Okay, yeah, that's what I remember.
Mortal Kombat 2 had Kung Lao. Lao. And then, of course, we have Sub-Zero, who's from the Lin Kuei, and Scorpion, who's from the Shirai Ryu, and they're rival clans, and they're trying to basically kill each other. But yeah, there was a lot of interesting backstory for these characters, and I think it's pretty amazing to see that this is their starting point. Because back then, Scorpion and Sub-Zero were enemies. Now in Mortal Kombat 11, they are basically the best of friends, allies in the fight for justice. So, yeah, it shows just how much the series has changed.
Well, it's like we get back to the simplistic to the complexities. So that's one thing I really liked about it when I was watching Retro play MK11. Right over here, is just watching how it was able to morph and how it was able to use many different storylines and stuff like that, and how they're using almost like the space-time continuum. You're also talking
with Mortal Kombat 11.
Yes. So there's a lot of things right over that you're starting to see that you can be able to do with this without destroying exactly what Mortal Kombat is.
Exactly.
So, but it really comes back to when you start taking a look at the characters, you can see the characters now are still as the characters as they were back then.
Yep.
So it's absolutely amazing that you can be able to still keep. That's the endearing part of this game.
Yeah,
and this probably they're going to have MK33 and stuff like that. You never know what might happen, people. So all I'm trying to say is that storyline will never be able to get old.
True.
So.
Well, all right. So, what would you guys give the rating for Mortal Kombat's characters?
I already gave it a 10. I'm giving it a 10. Yes.
What about you, Dr. Death?
Oh, my freaking rating is gonna be. If I had to go above 10, I'd go to 25.
True.
Heck, those characters are awesome.
Yes,
Dude,
I agree.
My favorite character out of all of them, I have 3 of them. My first one is Liu Kang, because you cannot go wrong with Liu Kang. My second one is Jax, because he's a hard-hitting son of a...
Yes.
He's a beast. And my third one, I'd have to say Scorpion, because who can go wrong with freaking hot, hellish heat of Scorpion?
For me, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Liu Kang. I started with Scorpion first, along with Sub-Zero. Then I started learning Liu Kang later on.
Okay, from Phoenix Fire says, originally Johnny Cage was supposed to be Jean-Claude Van Damme, but due to licensing, they couldn't get it in time. Hence, Johnny is their tribute to Van Damme in his movies.
Makes sense.
Johnny Cage is in MK1. Based off of Bloodsport, which makes sense because you remember
he did that actual nut punch in Bloodsport.
Yes, exactly. And then take those facts to the bank. That's from Phoenix Fire.
Yeah.
Can I say something else?
What?
All these questions that we're asking, everybody in the chat and Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, who all is watching, these questions go for you too. If you want to give your guys' input. Don't be afraid to put it in the chat, just like Phoenix Fire did.
Yep, go for it.
And also, do it for Facebook and Twitch, too. Because we're watching on Twitch, too, and on Facebook, and on Twitter.
Yep.
I mean, on Twitch.
Yeah.
So, we want to include you guys as much as possible. Yep. And you can shut up, Mystery Man 13.
But yeah, basically, guys, if you guys want to join in, ask questions, that'd be awesome. Don't forget to follow us on Twitch. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. And don't forget to like and share. All right. All right. So basically, a 10 all around for characters for us.
Oh yes.
All right.
Mine was a 25.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So now we're going on to music.
Okay.
I'm
telling you right now, 10.
We're talking about the game, not the movie.
Oh, well, okay. And still, okay. I'm still giving... Actually, I can't give it a 10. Actually, I can. I'm
going to give it a 10, too. Because honestly...
It a 10. Damn it.
And here's the thing. For as much as everyone does remember the theme song from Mortal Kombat, that's not its theme. That didn't become its theme until, surprisingly, Mortal Kombat 11. But, however... Everybody recognizes Mortal Kombat for that theme song, and we'll talk about that when we do the review of the movie. But, sweet Jesus, the music was incredible.
Oh,
like the jungle theme.
Here's another fun fact. Ed Boon, who only voiced Scorpions, get over here once, and look how iconic that would take off and become a signature saying.
Yeah, pretty much. Heck, actually, strange enough, if you guys do the fatal blow for Terminator, he actually says, "Get over here."
Oh god,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, so in a way, looks like the Mean Machine Arnold was able to do another one.
Oh heck yeah!
Here we go. But for what it's worth, though, the music is actually really good. Each theme is its own unique thing, from the Shaolin Temple to the jungle theme, and it was pretty freaking awesome. And of course, the music when you finally got your victory. And of course, the dreadful music when you get a fatality right off the bat.
Well, when you're playing the arcade and stuff like that, a lot of times it's the music that go up there and keeps you charged and going. Mm-hmm. So when you're playing the arcade game, that's where it really was going right over there. You can already tell how you were going to lose just by the way the game was going, and just by how it is. And and because you're playing in an arena of sorts, when you're at a video game place, and the thing is, everybody knows when you died.
True.
You know, so please do not die in front of the people right over there, you know.
True enough.
Yes.
I am willing to say this, though. The Super Nintendo, for as much as I love that one, the music did not translate well from the arcade. It was very fuzzy. Yet, I love the synth sounds that were used for the Sega Genesis version.
Yes. But
that one made the Mortal Kombat style way it is.
You got to remember, you're going 16-bit at the time. You know, you only had so much sound that you could put into it. Like, as I said, the difference between the arcade and that's the reason why a lot of times people were more disappointed when it went into the console. However, they loved the console was the fact that they didn't have to spend quarters.
They could finally play at home.
You didn't have to go outside in a rainy day riding your bike to the video game, you know, place. And there you go. I mean, so people sacrificed a lot, but I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, I remember the arcade game, and I did play it on the console, but because I knew the arcade game, I knew exactly how it was going to sound, so I was able to translate that for myself.
I honestly think that the Sega Genesis translated the music very well for Mortal Kombat when they ported it, I think. But the Super Nintendo was, unfortunately, the one that was lackluster. And, yes, I am going to straight up say it, that, yes, the Sega Genesis version will always be superior to the Super Nintendo version.
Well, yes.
I have to agree with you on that, Retro.
The only problem is...
I played both of them, and, the Sega Genesis is more better.
I actually own both.
Well, and I agree, because I think the thing is that if you take a look at it, it was closest to the arcade.
I'm also still looking for a 6-button controller because I cannot play that thing with a 3-button one.
No, you're not supposed to.
Yeah, because you have to press start in order to switch to kicking.
Yes, you do.
Why?
That was the only. That was.
Luckily, they sold 6-button controllers back then, though.
Well, yeah, but my point is that you still don't use the start button to go up there and have to change a move.
True enough.
There was other things. You could have used other buttons to do that, but that was absolutely stupid.
Yeah.
Because normally that's supposed to be your pause.
True. And for what it's worth, though, I am willing to give the music a 10 because even though it didn't translate very well to the Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis proved the music could translate very well to console, especially back in the 90s.
Yes.
Remember that, folks. This is 91
to
processing. 93. Yeah, so that is unbelievable. So, yeah, I'm still going to give it a 10. You guys gonna give it a 10 or what?
No. Music to me was 10 because I'm as I said, I'm looking more from the arcade game because we are talking about it. But however, it wasn't just the arcade game. Is that if you take a look with the technology that we had, I believe that it translated as well as it could based off of that. Now, if it was back to 16-bit. Even 32-bit, of course, I think at 16-bit, I think it would have been even better.
That is 16-bit.
I mean, 16-bit. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sega Genesis. I'm sorry. I mean, 32-bit.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So.
All right. What about you, Dr. Death? What are you going to score the music?
The music's going to be a 10 because I love how every arena has a different song, and when you're going to like where it says "finish him" or "finish her." It just gets all eerie anywhere on any map. It gets all eerie, like like you're about to freaking kill somebody, and you are, and you just do your fatality, and it's just icing on the cake. Oh my God, it is so beautiful. I
Flawless
love music.
victory.
Fatality.
Yes. So and then
get over here.
Yes.
Get over here.
Oh, good Lord.
Killer Instinct.
Or if you have to use the freaking...
Oh, yeah, Killer Instinkt.
Yes.
We'll do a review on that one next, guys. But
okay, so that's Phoenix Fire right over here talking about KI. So.
Oh, yeah, Killer Instinct is fun. But, yeah, honestly, though, I know a lot of people... even though the Killer Instinct was not the most popular franchise after the 64...
Yeah.
But it was still it's still a lovable franchise.
Yeah.
We will review that one of these days, but the reason why I wanted to start with Mortal Kombat first instead of Street Fighter or any of the other games is because Mortal Kombat changed the landscape of gaming in the way it is now.
Well, you got to remember too, if it changed the landscape on how, if you take a look, Street Fighter 2 or Street Fighter itself, the whole series, but let's go back for Street Fighter 1, Street Fighter 2, is the one that kind of brought in the competition type of fighting. I mean, trust me, I was back in the days when we had the arcade with the worst controls for.
Oh yeah, the original Street Fighter.
It was the old karate.
Street Fighter 2 was better.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, it was the old karate game, back in the day.
Oh yeah, those ones.
So, but what I'm saying is now it was the fact that when you talk to Street Fighter, that's the one that came up with the concept. It is the foundation to all other fighting games that's going on. It's very foundational in that sense. So all what the
Mortal Kombat
what Mortal Kombat did is brought a storyline to it with characters that followed the story that I thought was really good.
Actually, for me, the most influential part of Mortal Kombat is the way it influenced the game industry as a whole.
Well, that's true.
That's honestly, in my personal opinion, the reason why Mortal Kombat is so influential. Is because not only did it start the ESRB rating system, but it also made sure that all games would be going for that rating system instead of the one we used back in the day. Because back then, it was back from K to adult.
Well, you got to understand, too, is that there was more influential part of how... I think it also
Street Fighter had the story, it had the characters, it had all of that stuff done in Street Fighter 2 during that time, and this is before Mortal Kombat came out.
Yeah, but I really still think at the point, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Plus, it was 100%. Also one of the goriest games ever seen in
I think what happened was
time.
It pushed an envelope. Okay, it pushed, like, if you can watch horror flicks and stuff like that, back then, this was something over here, and because this kind of also showed the power of what computer graphics and all these things we're going to be able to bring into it, where you can bring in that gore, you can be able to you could break somebody's bones and just understand that you hit a reset button, guess what, the guy's brand new again.
True.
You know what I mean? So it kind of ushered in some other things. It was it's kind of like if you take a look at movies, probably in the late 90s into the 2000s, everybody went computer generated, where they were going up there and like watching Hostel, if you're watching those things, where it was Saw, where you were actually watching everything. No longer was it up to the imagination to go up there and do it. Now you're actually seeing it for real.
True. Other than that, though, now we're going to go on to design. And yes, I will be taking into account the Super Nintendo version and the Sega Genesis version to the arcade. And this is actually where, again, Sega Genesis wins again. Oh, yeah. The design translated better on Sega Genesis, even though it did still have a few problems, like those little red dots that would pop over on the screen, compared to Super Nintendo's, which did feel a little... How would I say, splotchy, I guess?
Well, I hate to say this, but I'm gonna. This is where I'm gonna kind of ding it, right over here in this particular. I mean, you're talking design and stuff like that. I mean, there was a lot of really great things over there, but there was.
It did have digitized actors.
Well, they did, but I still think because I'm gonna hit it and say 7.
Really?
Well, the reason why... So these are my reasons, people. Because, number one, I love the story. I love the characters. And I'm looking at the characters and stuff like that. But let's take a look at, when you're starting to take a look, the differences between a Sega Genesis and a Nintendo. Right over there. And those types of things. Yes, with the limited of 16-bit and not being able to translate everything over. But it still was not... It was cumbersome. Anytime you have to hit the start button to go up there and switch.
That's Sega Genesis.
Well, Sega Genesis, but what I'm trying to say, you don't have the...
We're talking mainly design.
The design.
Look.
But the look of it, even the look of it, if you took a look at like Street Fighter, if you looked at some of the others,
they translated surprisingly well.
They translated very, very well. They didn't necessarily translate it that well in the design part of it right there. I think what made it work is that you had the crystal clear arcade, and you could understand that. But when you started getting into the consoles right over there, that's where they were working kind of against each other too. And it's kind of like people who had the Super Nintendo didn't get all of what really makes Mortal Kombat True. At this point.
That's true.
All right, I'm willing to give an argument only to the Sega Genesis version because I did play both the arcade and the Sega Genesis people, and for translation-wise, especially for back in 1991 and 92, that is still impressive that they managed to do so well with recreating the actual look of Mortal Kombat. The original Mortal Kombat for the Super Nintendo, however, was a complete disappointment. The only thing that game, in a way, got right was the controller.
Yeah.
And how they mapped every single button to each of the moves.
Yes.
But, of course, when the Sega Genesis got the six button controller, that changed, and the Sega Genesis became superior after that.
Okay.
Because not only was there cheap ways to do because remember the sweeping kick? Well, guess what? Now that it's so cheap, I could do that move constantly, even though I'm at least a foot away from him, and I could still hit him with a sweep kick. It was cheap as hell.
Okay, here's something. Before we get to him, I'm just going to read. Okay, so Phoenix Fire says that, Street Fighter is the father of fighting games. GoldenEye is the father of first-person shooters, right? So it just takes the one game, right? But when you're talking about merchandising, games, Spawn comics, and all those things, mind you, back then, internet wasn't even around.
That's true.
Or Instagram or Twitter. You had to rely on word of mouth, people going into the schools and telling all their friends. Can you just imagine that back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
Right now that we're able to tell people exactly what they need to do and look out for. Come to our review because we're going to tell you the right way or what we've seen. Mm-hmm. And now you go up there and back in the day, here it is. This thing took it by storm, and the only thing was people going to the schools, talking to your friends, and that's how it moved so quickly.
I actually remember one of my friends actually connected his computer to a modem back in the day and actually printed out all of the fatalities and gave it all to all of us.
Yes.
Because they wanted us to perform the fatalities in our games. I'm like, holy crap, dude, this is amazing.
Okay, now what was your score again?
I'm actually willing to give the score for design more of an 8 because I still think it was still pretty impressive. The Sega Genesis did really good in translating. The Super Nintendo was my only drop.
Okay.
What about you, Dr. Death?
Yes.
Well, mine's going to be kind of a long, so bear with me, all right?
Okay,
go for it.
Start with the arcade. I mean, the design for old-fashioned. It's old-fashioned. It's a good design still, but for that, I'm just gonna start it with a 5 because, well, like I wanted more out of it. I wanted more environmental actions out of it. Back then, you were just killing people out of it.
Okay,
I believe.
I'm willing to make an argument. This is during 1991. Environmental stuff didn't happen until much later, right around the N64 series.
Yeah, and I'll get there. I understand your argument, but yeah, just bear with me for a bit. But as I moved up into like you said, the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo era, I played it on the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo, I'm gonna say that was a 3. The Sega Genesis was an 8 because I love the graphic design. I love how it upgraded from the arcade, which was still pretty good, to the Sega Genesis, which, yeah, like you said, you had to press start to do a kick, and then you had to press start.
We'll talk about the gameplay in a moment.
Like
But I'm still going to argue one more thing, is that, honestly, I'm still going to say the arcade version was the best looking of the 3. But however, for Sega Genesis, it translated very well in visuals. Sure, it did have a few flaws, but nothing that was too overwhelming.
Remember back in the 90s, okay? So let's go back to the era, okay?
Yeah.
So now if you go back to when I was a young man playing video games and stuff like that, we didn't care about story. All we wanted to do was just kick the crap out of each other. You know what I mean? That's what the early 90s, and that's what produced, because for us guys, there wasn't a lot to it but decide going out there and finding who's the best fighter. And really it was not, I didn't care about the story. I don't really care. My character is going to kick your character's butt. That's all my job was. And then if I have to leave, because back in the old days we used to set up quarters. right over there. And it was funny. Everybody knew where everybody's quarter was. So the minute you lost, whoever was quarter number 1, you screamed their name, they would come up. Now, that was the honor of gamers back then. No one ran in there and took over that.
But luckily enough, games like Super Nintendo did have like stuff like King of the Hill. Well, nowadays, so you go in order.
But you got to remember,
it kept the honor system.
But really came back down to the fact of you have quarters.
True.
And you called the person up. You didn't want to be the person leaving the arcade, leaving the console there. So that was the main reason why. So when people out there, when you're starting to take a look, that if you have to understand the era, you have to understand that generation at the time and what we were looking at.
Yeah.
More than anything else.
True. All right. So what would be your total score for design overall?
Well, overall, I'm still gonna give it a 10 because it advanced so well through the history of arcade.
That's true.
To nowadays, because according to Mortal Kombat 11, I love the visuals, I love the blood gore, and I absolutely love the environmental interactions where you could just grab something and just bang it upside your opponent's head, or throw your opponent into a spike and just make it go through their head, or freaking hit like those like crap, I can't think of the name. Like trapped beasts that are in, I think that arena
there was some
thing, and on Otherworld.
Yeah.
You can throw it into that beast and then freaking. Oh
Outworld.
My God! Or throw it into that alligator.
Yeah. I
love it. So it's a 10 throughout.
Okay, and I like Phoenix Fire, and I'm just going to paraphrase.
Hold on. Unavailable.
So right over here, when I'm taking a look at Phoenix Fire, he's right. The Nintendo was a family-friendly console.
Yet they managed to get away with it in Mortal Kombat 2.
No, but there was a difference, though. But the thing is that you got to remember that landscapes were changing. True. A little bit, but they were still trying desperately to keep with the family-friendly part of that. So, yeah. I mean that is the whole thing right there.
I think Mortal Kombat also changed Nintendo in a way because they did allow mature-rated games on their system later down the line, like Conker's Bad Fur Day, for example, for N64, Eternal Darkness for the GameCube. If we go down to the Wii, there was Travis Touchdown's game. What was it called? No More Heroes.
Well, you got to understand too.
There's also the Switch, which has games like Mortal Kombat 11. Strange enough, is on the system now.
Well, and Phoenix brought up. Phoenix brought up another good point too. Is that if you just take a look at Princess Peach, she went from being the damsel in distress, the heroine, to now she's independent. Strong. You know what I mean?
I do not agree with that statement.
But you got to understand that
Daisy,
hold on,
yes,
hold on,
but not Peach.
No, but I'm saying is that actually even Peach too. Is if you're starting to take a look at things, for Peach it's more of a slower draw because everybody's used to Princess Peach in this environment, but she's still making the draw. Daisy was different. Yeah. Daisy came out different. You know what I mean? So she was the generation coming up. Right over here. Peach is in my generation. Daisy's your guys' generation. So when you start thinking about over here, for us older gamers and stuff like that, when we look at it, we're looking at Peach as exactly how we would expect Peach to evolve. But when you guys are taking a look, here's Daisy, but Daisy follows that suit for you. So you got to remember that it's really hard to go up there if you're going to be selling consoles. You got to remember, you got to be able to sell consoles to me, but also to you guys, and also to the Gen Zers, and and so on and so forth.
All right,
I have to agree with Master Chief on that one because she went from being the damsel of distress, like he said, to also independent.
She still is.
It is true because she is very independent, and it is actually kind of shown on Smash because she can handle her own.
Well, and
non-canon.
And let me tell you over. Yeah, but when you start taking a look at it too, she still has that femininity that goes back to where she still believes there's a chivalrous. There's still those things that she believes in and stuff like that, which I believe. So chivalry's not dead, but because she still expresses really great gratitude when someone's doing something good for her.
When did we suddenly get into Princess Peach instead?
It was just bringing up a point from Phoenix Fire. That's all. Okay, now we're gonna go to
gameplay.
Now we're going to gameplay.
Okay, first of all, I am gonna say this. I'm not saying the gameplay is terrible, guys, but there's actually a reason why where I am willing to say that there are some benefits to all three. First, let's take a look at the controls of the original game. You had high kick, low kick, you had high punch, low punch, and it was pretty simple with that, along with the block button.
Yeah.
And of course, you also had your joystick that helped you move around, jump over your opponent, get onto the other side, be able to strike and hit hard. And then, of course, there are the combos and the special moves.
Yes.
Which, again, very simple design. Again, based off Street Fighter, it makes sense, though. However, the ones from Mortal Kombat are a little bit more simplistic. The complex stuff was the Fatalities. And this is one of the reasons why this game became so famous. And why so many games tried to copy off Mortal Kombat instead of Street Fighter. Even Street Fighter itself tried to copy Mortal Kombat. I'm not joking. But yeah, basically with that, it was very interesting to see a type of game that allowed you to rip the head off your opponent, or set them on fire, or freeze them and then shatter them, or literally tear their arms off, or punch them in the dick so hard that they literally their skeleton literally launches from them, or knocking their head three times off their head, even though that shouldn't even be physically possible, or electrocuting them until they turn to dust.
Okay, so what's your number?
Or using their freaking head as a side.
Getting to that. Then we get on to the controls of the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo. I like the mapping of the Super Nintendo control. Actually, I actually have one. Give me a second, everyone. I'm going to show you the Super Nintendo controller and what you had to deal with on the system. And it's pretty interesting how they mapped it out. Basically, with the Super Nintendo controller, these were to block. Then you had high punch, low kick, and high kick, all on these 4 buttons. There's no reason to press the start button right here for switching moves. All the buttons were mapped out. Yeah. That's actually what made the responsiveness of the controller here much better than the Sega Genesis. Now we're going to show you the Sega Genesis controller. And yes, I'm only showing you the original because I don't have the 6-button controller yet. Which, I do plan on getting, because, let's just face it, I can't play Mortal Kombat with a 3-button controller. But yeah, the 6-button controller is a little bit different. There's 3 buttons down here. There's A button for 2 A buttons, 2 B buttons, 2 C buttons. 1 high punch, low punch, kick. And since there's no buttons here, that's the reason why for the block, it was always C for high block and low block, which made it a lot easier. But with the original Sega Genesis controller, you had to press start.
Now, I just want to do one other thing. So that's the Xbox controller. Try to tell me, put the Sega Genesis close to it. Notice some similarities. I mean, in the sense that if you take a look on how the hand design is.
That's true.
Right there.
Yeah,
but yeah, if you notice something interesting, if we go back to the Super Nintendo.
Why are you bringing the second one there?
Watch. Look at the button system. Very similar to what you would expect. And that's the reason why that the button system here became standard, where the controller design became standard from this.
And you got to understand, you can see they're taking the best parts of everything right there and moving it forward. You see what I mean?
Exactly. And that's actually kind of the reason why.
Phoenix Fire says one cool thing is that MK 1 through 3 actually used actors and motion capture of those actors and green screen, but after 3, it became computerized.
That's right.
You don't hear much about actors or actresses doing motion captures for games.
Actually,
voice acting, yes, but not motion capture.
Actually, there's actually, they use digitized actors for the roles of all the characters in the original trilogy. But technically, Mortal Kombat 3 was not the last one to do it. It was Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero for the N64 and PlayStation. Don't get that game, it's shit. But you get what I mean, though. But for what it's worth, though, we're talking about controls. And honestly, For how the controls were set up back for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, and yes, this is including the original. For Sega Genesis, it was a bit of a downgrade, and and that's only with the 3-button controller. With the 6-button controller, it was smooth, it was useful, and not to mention I didn't have any problems with it in the future.
Well, you got to also understand too is that if you notice where the Sega put it, they didn't put it with the trigger fingers. They actually put it where your thumb is. Now, mind you, a lot of times, us guys that were arcaders, we didn't really use the index finger so much right over here, but we used our thumbs. You know, I mean, your finger was supposed to tap down, not press like a trigger. Yeah. So you have to understand. So that's the reason why that when we didn't have to use the triggers right over here, we found that it was just a lot easier to use your thumbs.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why for us, when Sega Genesis went that way, it went because more of the arcade people will be using the thumbs, and the six button was a lot more intuitive for us.
Yeah, and with the Super Nintendo, as you guys can see, where the block buttons were right here, it did make sense, especially since the index fingers were right there. You didn't have to move too much, and you could react much better. But yeah, for a lot of arcaders, this, including myself, who played the arcade version first before Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, this did kind of throw me off when I first played the game.
Well, and as I said, it gets back to the point of where, it wasn't much. I mean, I didn't have no use to use my index fingers. True. That's just for me to hold the damn controller. That's pretty much what it was for. So the thing is that if I had anything I needed to do, I needed to do it with my thumbs.
Yeah. What about you, Dr. Death? What did you think of the controls for not only the arcade, but the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis?
Well, back in the day, like Master Chief, I was a gaming child as well. I'm used to the arcade one with the joystick, and you had to press this different punching buttons on the console thingy. But according to the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, I'm gonna have to say when the Sega Genesis with the 6-button controller, that's the one I'm used to, because I used to play on the 6-button controller, not the 3.
That makes sense.
That one was a lot easier to fight with than the Super Nintendo ones. I mean, granted, Super Nintendo had a better layout of the controller, which is okay, but I'm just used to the Sega Genesis one. So if I had to rate that, I'd rate that 10 for the Sega Genesis and 8 for the Super Nintendo.
True, but we're also going to be talking about the engine and mainly the gameplay mechanics. And this is actually where I'm going to say, and this is personally for me, this is where that the game didn't necessarily translate that well to Super Nintendo, is because, and I actually found this out when I was doing, like, for example, I was doing the sweep kick I mentioned earlier. How I was able to hit him even though he was a foot away from me, which shouldn't have worked, yet I could spam that move over and over again and knock him out. Then, of course, there was some of the special moves. Some of the special moves wouldn't respond on the Super Nintendo version. And then there were times where I would use a super move, and my opponent would use it at the same time. Yet the opponent hits me anyway while mine gets canceled out. Where in the arcade version as well as the Sega Genesis version, they both cancel each other out.
I'm going to go up there Go ahead.
What Phoenix Fire said?
What?
He says, goes to show how gaming evolved.
Yes,
and giving something to everyone these days. Gaming will continue to evolve. Give it a day where all you would have to do is plug yourself and you're going to be in your favorite game or movie or TV show. And no, I'm not talking about virtual reality headsets.
Yeah, so
SNES was unfair to MK and KI because they were 6-button fighters, but Sega made it work as they knew how they were going with the game.
Yeah, so now I'm going to go up there, and I am going to be probably, when you get up there, I'm probably going to give this, the gameplay itself, right now, I'm floating between a 6 and a 7, and I'll tell you my reasons why. So, one of the things is when you start taking a look at gameplay, even in the arcade version too, is going up there. There was a lot of great things about it, but the actual gameplay in itself was sloppy. And there was some sloppiness there. Sometimes when you think that you can grab, like we were talking about there, even in the arcade game, you can go up there, somehow you're grabbing somebody from freaking a mile away, and then all of a sudden you can't grab
the arcade version never had that problem. It was the console version that had that problem.
But it did, though. It did. There were certain things over there that, and sometimes it was just certain characters. Certain characters were able to do something. I don't know if it was not fully programmed in
I think it was Goro, right?
Goro
would somehow grab you from afar and things?
I can't put it, but there was other things too. Another thing I couldn't handle on it translated to all three. Liu Kang had nothing. Here's the golden boy here.
Oh, yeah, his fatality just being a somersault and an uppercut.
His fatality was the worst. Oh my God! It was disgusting.
Sad.
It was sad, and it was sad everywhere. Even his gameplay was sad. You hear this guy is supposed to be going up there that saves the freaking world.
The dude's based on Bruce Lee, for God's sake.
And then you take him and you make him the worst freaking character in the game. Worst character. And that's the reason why I have to go with the 6. Because you don't take the star of the show and then on the arcade, the video game, and everything else, and turn him into the biggest loser.
Technically, he's not the face of the franchise, but Scorpion and Sub-Zero are.
But that's not the point. The point is that who saved it? Johnny Cage was like, you got to do it, man. You got to do it. You gotta go. It's kind of like Harry Potter going up there. It's not me. It's not Hermione. It's you. So all I'm saying is, for right now, it was the worst thing you could have done. I mean, if you're gonna go up there, at least make sure that this guy had some sort of golden punch. You remember something that made it more than what it is. I was very, very disappointed in it.
You got to admit, though, at least with Mortal Kombat 11, when they did that fatality, they made sure to go over the top of it.
But my point is that they fixed it. But what I'm trying to say is we're not talking about MK11.
I know.
We're talking about now. So my thing is that I'm just taking a look at the games, and I'm looking at my beloved arcade. It's kind of hard for me to even say that too. The thing that was great about it was we were able to beat the crap out of each other. That's what it came down to.
Yeah.
But however, it still was. If I was looking at it from Street Fighter to that, there was significant differences because Street Fighter seemed to be a lot. It seemed to work better. Okay, that's just for me. So all I'm trying to say is that's the reason why that I'm probably going to stick with a 6 on this particular. I knew the first 3 were going to be 10s for me because that really gripped me the most. Mm-hmm. But when you start talking about the design of everything and then you start talking about the gameplay, even on, and as I said, you got to understand, I'm not much of a consoler. So, it wasn't necessarily going to be something good for me anyway. Yeah. But one thing I can say is there were just too many things, and to have Liu Kang translate to the others just as poorly, it did nothing for me for what the guy was supposed to signify throughout the movie.
True. What about you, Jasper? What about you?
Well, first I'm going to say what my rating for the gameplay is, and then I'm going to read what Phoenix Fire said. But first, I'm going to say I'm going to have to go with Master Chief on this one because of Liu Kang not having such a good fatality in the first couple. I mean, I could do a somersault and I could do an uppercut. So, frick, why make it so simplistic for Liu Kang to do a freaking somersault and an uppercut to the head to make it go pop off? Why not just do what they normally do, just make a big old fire-breathing dragon come down and just bite him in half?
Thank God they did that for 2.
That was awesome.
Thank God they did that for 2.
Yep, I'm giving it a solid 6 for that one. Yeah, it's just no. They needed it's a 6 for the later consoles, but I'm gonna say it's a 10 for MK11 for the nowadays consoles because look at how Liu Kang turns himself into a fire and an electric god. Basically because of Raiden. I absolutely love that.
All right.
That's how OP he's supposed to be.
All right.
But now, Phoenix Fire, he says, I'm going to read the last 4 messages he said. He said, Sega already had the version.
Vision, yeah, it's a vision, yes.
Yeah, Sega already had the version as they knew the limitations. When you're going to make a video game, based off an arcade game, know your limitations and plan it. Don't rush. Okay, I understand there are deadlines, but you need to see how you're going to make it work so no one gets butthurt.
Yeah.
I think at the Sega, the SNES wanted to hurry up and make it just to compete with the Sega Genesis version in terms of sales.
True.
How many games did Nintendo make just go compete with a competitor when it came to sales of the same game?
Well, you have to understand too is that you have to go up there and you have to take a look at it from this point. Mm-hmm. They were probably already thinking the same thing. Yeah. Except that the number one thing is that
they actually had help from the developers of the original game.
But remember, Nintendo did everything in-house, where Sega Genesis did everything third-party.
Yeah.
Very seldom that they actually did something for themselves.
Like Sonic the Hedgehog.
So when you have a third party and that's all they're working on, that's it. They have to take their design team. They didn't have like separate design teams at that time to be able to do all these different things. What they did was they go up there and say, we're going to do it in-house. Now you have to switch gears. So now they might have been working on a game over here, but they know that if they might miss their window of opportunity, that's the reason why back then they didn't have all these divisions and stuff like that too. I mean, you guys just look. I mean, you have just a division just on Super Smash Bros. Which is huge. Because take a look what they did, but that's just an example.
Yeah, I think Mortal Kombat. Acclaim did help them out with development, but they didn't have as much people from their staff as Sega did when it comes to the development of Mortal Kombat. But now it's time for me to give my 2 cents on the gameplay. First of all, the special moves are easy to use and they're very easy to memorize compared to Street Fighter. And yes, I'm gonna say this outright, Street Fighter fans. I don't like the controls in those games because they're so damn complicated. But that's the reason why I'm so good at Mortal Kombat compared to, Street Fighter. And heck,
one's more intuitive.
Yeah, one's more intuitive. The other one is definitely more for the hardcore fighting game players. Next, of course, is the Fatalities. I do love the Fatalities. And yes, I am going to address that Liu Kang's is absolutely the worst in the first game. Though it is not the worst overall. Well, Taro's the worst because basically it's like you take your head, pop it off like a cork. No blood or anything. It's weird. I don't know why that's the case.
That was just too simplistic.
Exactly. But yeah, Liu Kang's was unfortunately the worst in the game. And yes, I will at least dock a point for that. Only a point. Because it is the only bad fatality. The rest of them are good.
Can I say something?
Wait a second. You're saying that it was the only bad fatality?
Yes. It is
the only bad one. Hold on. Elaborate. I gotta hear this.
First of all, we have, of course, Raiden's electrical shock. Bam! Launches him with lightning, makes him explode. We have Scorpion. Takes off his mask. There's a skull. Burns you alive. Then we have Sub-Zero. Ripping the head off his victim, with spine included, and showing the viewers what he had just done. Johnny Cage, literally knocking a person's head 3 times off. That shouldn't be possible, yet there it is. Then, of course, we have Sonya Blade's Kiss of Death, making them basically explode just from them getting kissed by her. Next, of course, we have Kano. Make sure he punches right into your chest cavity, pulls out your heart while it's still beating, and shows it to the gods. And then, of course, we have Goro, who basically rips you apart with his 4 arms. Shang Tsung, who literally consumes your soul so badly that you're nothing but a skeleton. And then we have Liu Kang, somersault uppercut.
That was sucked.
Beat all those.
Well, I'm just, Shang Tsung.
God,
you know what?
Now you're getting into him.
Well, I know. I mean, that's what happens. Okay, but what I'm saying is right now even Shang Tsung is, for me personally, that was like, okay, that did nothing for me. Okay, that just saying, it did nothing for me. Okay, I'm just telling you right now.
I swear.
And because what it reminded me of was like a Liu Kang. They had more that they could have been able to do with that. You know what I'm trying to say is so when like Shang Tsung, so let's just say when he lost, right? You remember how the souls were released and stuff like that, which was really cool, right? But you remember how he was able to take, the soul. But I think it was really neat that if he would have been able to take the soul, from the person and kind of, you could see it transfer, because they did it through the eyes or they did it through his hand, right? And then all of a sudden for him to morph into the person, and then, then kind of like ingest it back to himself, kind of slowly go back, like he's absorbing it in. I think that would have been really, really cool because...
True, but again, that does not necessarily go well with Shang Tsung because he doesn't do that. He's a master manipulator. He's very much someone who's more like the puppeteer. So I could see his fatality working, especially for his type of style.
I'm just saying right over here. This
I
is the reason. I
think you guys are being too harsh.
This is the reason why. You know what? I've seen you be harsh on something right over there. I'm like going up there. Really? Are you sure?
Because I'm justified.
But I'm justified too. I mean, so you're going back to who's right. You have your way of looking at it and seeing it.
But I have cold, hard facts to back up my actual
But the
theories.
thing is, this one here, it said, is right over here. It did nothing for me. Cold, hard facts or not. You can't cold, hard fact it to the reasons that I didn't like it. I don't know what else to say.
What are you
giving it?
A 9.
Oh, Lord,
like I said,
you have lost your mind.
Here's the thing. The gameplay is smooth, easy to use. Anybody can pick up a controller and play it. But at the same time, it takes time to master the game, just like any fighting game would be. It is a lot easier to do than freaking Street Fighter.
All I'm trying to say is
and the only real problem I ever saw with it was Liu Kang's fatality. Everything else, including the arcade ladder. Actually, wait.
I'm just saying. No,
hold on. I just realized something. I am actually going to dock a point. Because I am going to start talking about the console versions. One, the console version for the arcade ladder, what a bunch of crap. The difficulty spike on the Super Nintendo version is absolutely stupid. And the Sega Genesis one is almost a little too easy compared to the arcade. The arcade was well balanced, so they had enough difficulty, but still gave you a little leeway to try to be able to learn the patterns and how they fight.
I think the difference is that when you're standing up, like when you're doing an arcade game, when you're standing up, the person's right here. You're in a mode. You're taking a look at your character, and you're going to town like that. It's different. It's a different feel in that. So there's more of an intenseness. There's a lot more adrenaline flowing and stuff like that when you're actually doing the arcade. I think for some reason when you're in a control environment where you're doing when you're at the console, you're sitting down, it's not as adrenaline filled, and then it's kind of like where the buttons here, where your fingers are more intuitive because they're right here, there.
Yeah.
I think that it makes it harder.
True.
And this is where I give kudos to all you young guys out there and gals that go up there that can be able to take the controls and stuff like that. I remember my first time with Halo. I'm trying to run, and I'm like, how come I'm not turning? And then Retro here goes up there and says to me, "You have to move its head." I go, "Excuse me?" I point, I go. Nope, you have to point his head so he knows where to go. I go, okay, that was the end of my console days.
Yeah, so, sad to say, guys.
Sad to
Can
say.
I get my point?
Yeah?
I agree with both you and Master Chief. Master Chief, because he agrees with my side, the reason why I gave it a 5. The reason why I'm being so harsh on Mortal Kombat.
Oh, so you gave it a 5?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you said 6.
I gave it a 5 as well. The reason why I gave it a 5, I'm giving it a 5 because now you mentioned a point about the freaking ladder. Yeah, you are right. It is complete and total garbage. it was easy on one console while it was just so difficult on another.
Yeah, it's really strange. I don't know why that was it. Because here's the thing. The Super Nintendo I always thought was going to be the easiest one. Oh, heck no! Even the mainline enemies are harder to defeat than the boss. The boss is so damn easy when you get to them in the Super Nintendo version. But in the Sega Genesis version, all the enemies are easy and the bosses are so stupidly hard.
Well, you know what I'm sorry. Just let me pull this in there and then I'll let you go there, Dr. Death. One of the things you got to understand too, with the 6-button controller, it followed closely to the arcade. Mm-hmm. You know, you had the pad, and then you had the
I think that's what also made it easy. But I think it's also the programming of the bosses, though. And that would translate a lot easier from the arcade to the console in itself. Based off of that, I will take my number from a 6 and make that a 7. Okay.
Based off of that, because that makes sense to me now. I had to think about it a little bit more.
Yeah, the only reason why is that I noticed that the bosses on the Sega Genesis port are a lot harder to beat than the mainline enemies, and it just seems to be the reverse for the Super Nintendo version. But the arcade version was so balanced because you actually had the ability to beat them, but you had to learn how. But for what it's worth, though, that's the reason why I gave it a solid.
Make sure that Dr. Death gets
46.
His thought in.
Yeah, that I think about it, about the arcade version too. No, I understand it was balanced, like you guys said. Yeah, I agree with that. So I too am going to bring up the my rating from a 5 all the way to a 7. But I'm not going to give it any more than that because back then, I'm still mad that they freaking had Liu Kang do a freaking a somersault and an uppercut. That just made no. I agree with Master Chief on that one. They could have done better with that fatality, and I also agree with you that he wasn't the head of the franchise, but I still think he was the golden boy, that he should have been out there. He should have done a lot more damage than just a somersault and a freaking uppercut.
True.
So I agree with both of you.
Luckily enough, they did fix that in Mortal Kombat 2. All right.
Yes.
So
and onward. Now, and also, the one thing I want to bring up is the easy fatalities for Mortal Kombat 11. I love that mechanic because, I mean, some of the fatalities, they're still difficult to compute in, but they're also easy too.
Yeah.
To some people. I'm going to not just say for me, they're also easy for everybody else.
True.
But I love the easy fatalities because you can just press 2 buttons and then perform the easy fatalities if you have the easy fatality coins. Which, yeah, I mean, you can get those. You got to go to the crypt, yada, yada, yada. But I understand perfectly now that perform the fatalities, unlock them. It makes the whole game very enjoyable if you know exactly what you're doing.
True.
That's why I'm going to say I'm going to give the nowadays, the Mortal Kombat 11 gameplay a solid 10 for that. But back then, it's still going to be a 7.
Yeah, and when it comes down to Rai Guy, everyone, Rai Guy gave it 9 almost in every category except for the gameplay, which was a 5. And the reason why is that he loved all the characters from the game, how they each had very good developed stories and all that. The gameplay could have been done much better, though. So, for his score was 41.
Okay, I would like to read what Phoenix Fire said, okay? From his last question where it says, how many games did Nintendo make just go compete with a competitor when it came to sales of the same game? To this. That's the joy of a video game on a different console. It is a challenge, and you have to break out of your safety net as you had to expect. You're not going to play the game all the time. Hold on.
True.
You just texted, and I lost where it said that.
Here,
You're not going to play the game all the time on the same system where you go. One friend was going to have it on the Sega. One would have it on the Super Nintendo.
True.
you had to at least expect it. You have to adapt to a new environment as a gamer, as you never know what to expect. And when we were talking about Liu Kang and his bad fatality, I said I understand both their sides. And then Phoenix Fire said, again, Retro, as a gamer, you have to adapt at any changes that could happen when you play different consoles. You have to expect a challenge, as it's not supposed to be easy all the time.
Very true,
and
of
then
course.
The last thing he said, they could have done better, but maybe the creative team at the time didn't know what would be good. Which
makes sense,
what would
honestly.
be a good fatality for Liu Kang, hence why they were simple. They probably wanted to make him stand out, but couldn't figure it out.
But I think I get what Phoenix Fire was getting at and stuff like that too. But one of the things is take a look at the person in itself. Okay, if you are going to go out and you're going to, let's say, fight Shang Tsung, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to use a kick? And you know what I'm trying to say? Would that be your final move?
No.
I mean, seriously. I mean, in a thought process at all. Now, mind you, too, you had two different thoughts too after listening to everything. You had it where it was easy to get through, but it was hard to get to the bosses. The bosses should always be the harder fight. No matter how you want to do it. But what I'm trying to say is that that's the reason why you have it. I understand that if you want to make it hard, but don't make the boss fight
almost impossible.
That's
kind of what the Sega Genesis was.
Well, yes.
Where in the arcade it was possible to beat them, but you really had to work hard.
Well, and that's my point. My point is, I guess that the term grinding would have started at that point. But what I'm saying is that where you had, you found the balance. But as I said, if I was the guy that was supposed to save the world, right? Just on that thought alone, right over there, that thought alone, and I'm going against Shang Tsung that has this really great, for the time right over there, a great fatality. There should be, I mean, unless they were out to lunch during this one particular point,
maybe,
and stuff like that, and they had some random kid off the street go up there and design the fatality for him. But that's where it came down to. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. I mean, and they did it bad and here's what it was really bad. They did it bad in the frickin' the arcade anyway. You know what I mean? Yeah. They did it bad then too. So all I'm trying to say is that nobody had the thought process on it properly.
All right, so here we go. Our scores were 45, 45, and 43 for the original scores. All of our scores went up. Dr. Death's was 45, now 47. MasterChief2011's was 43, now 44. And mine was 45, now going to 46.
Wow, yours went up by 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine went up by
2.
Yes. This is what I think what makes where I really love the whole RetroActive's corner and how we do reviews here is the fact that what your initial thought is, and then listening to everybody speak, what was good, bad, not say the arguments, but the creative discussions that you have through this, it kind of does when you're starting to take a look at it from a logical standpoint. Yeah, it's your number should change, from that,
Well, you're not going to believe this. We're already at 3:30, and normally the show would end. But I did say that this was going to be the first time we're going to be doing a movie as well as a game review. Okay. So we're going to keep going with this one, and we're going straight into Mortal Kombat the movie. This is one that influenced so many kids in the 90s, myself included.
Well, I will tell you right now, when Siskel and Ebert give it a thumbs up,
you already know it's good.
You know that it is a good. It's going to be a good movie. And
however, really, I do have some complaints.
Well, I think you can always have complaints on a movie of like this.
But this one is most surely one that I believe so many other people are going to agree with me with.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now. For me, on this movie and stuff like that.
For a score of 0 to 50?
0 to 50, I'm probably going to give it a... Let's go with a 48.
48? What about you, Dr. Death?
Well, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, so I'm going to have to stick with the 45 because, well, I don't know, maybe I'll remember some stuff in
you will.
Review.
You will.
All right.
And maybe it'll add up to 45.
For me, I'm going to give it a 40. Yes,
40.
I said 40, people. Even though I love this movie, I'm
Retro
going to be critical.
needs to be beat. That's what he needs.
Here's the thing. I'm going to be critical.
All right, I'm on my way over. I'll be there in 30 days.
Be there in 30 days, yeah.
Or I get my money back. I'm sorry, I had to add that. All right, here we go.
You're going down. You're going down, Retro.
Here we go. We're going to go off with story.
Yeah.
Luckily enough, I am very thankful that the story is, in a way, very similar to the original game. People get invited into joining this Mortal Kombat tournament to decide the fate of Earthrealm. That's something that was, again, kind of exemplary there, so well done. They also brought back some of the characters in the games. Again, love it. It's fantastic. I'm really glad they did that. Oh, wait, no! I just realized something. There were only 6 characters in Mortal Kombat. 8 was in Mortal Kombat 2, Jax included. Jax was never in the original game.
Okay, so but let's take a look at this too. You know, when you're starting to take a look at the movie in itself, right? Mm-hmm. You know, it kind of reminded me of Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee. Yeah. So it really hit.
Where do you think Liu Kang came from?
Well, you have to understand that, you know, it was that one right there. You could almost take a look at The Last Dragon, but we won't go there.
Actually, think about it. There are so many Bruce Lee characters in every single game you see in it, like Fei Long from Street Fighter, Liu Kang from Mortal Kombat, Rock Lee from Naruto. Seriously, come on, guys.
They didn't ruin it like they did Super Mario Bros. movie.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. We won't go there yet. That's another show.
That's another show.
But what I'm going to say about Mortal Kombat, the thing that I really loved about the movie in itself is that, number one, they had some really great actors in it too.
We're talking about story though, man.
Yeah, but the story. But what I'm saying is that's what made the story. If you take a look, I mean, the play who plays Shang Tsung, the one who played Raiden. I mean, everyone there did a really excellent job in, you know, bringing the characters, but I think really actually telling the story. Sometimes actors do that takes a simplistic story and then actually kind of makes it more than what it is. And I really thought the story in itself was portrayed very, very well on screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm looking at it right here. For Shang Tsung was played by Hiroyuki Tagawa.
Mm-hmm. Robin Shaw, or I think that he's the one who played Liu Kang.
Yeah, Robin Shaw. There was Christopher Lambert, who was Raiden. Bridget Wilson, Sonya Blade. Lyndon Ashby as Johnny Cage.
Yes.
Talisa Soto as Katana,
yes.
But that's in the second.
Yes.
No, wait. No, second movie, yeah.
But
then we have Kano, that was Trevor Goddard.
Yes.
Scorpion was played by Chris Casamassa. Let me see. And Goro was played by Kevin Michael.
Well, and I'm just saying is the reason why
Michael Richardson.
The reason why I'm giving it a 10 because it's an excellent story. And I really liked how they went to different places, how they did different themes. I just liked how they took on, you know, it was their tournament. They took it on, like I said, a 10.
Okay.
And I think that's, to me, the difference in this movie. And as I said, it was so well acted, but we'll get into the characters afterwards. But I think that was the reason why I liked it so much. And it really kind of brought out a lot of things. It also kind of helped out the video game in itself because it started connecting a lot of the dots and stuff, because people are wondering why is it so important, so now they understand the importance of it.
Okay. What about you, Dr. Death? What would you give the story of the Mortal Kombat movie?
Well, I actually saw a newer movie, so I'm going to base my rating off of that one.
No, that's not the one. The original movie was made in 1995.
Well, I don't remember seeing that movie yet, so...
Oh.
Just based off of your guys' ratings...
Yeah.
Off of MasterChief's. From sound, it sounds like a pretty good movie, so I'm going to rate it from his point of view a 10 as well. Yeah. Because, well, he says that the story was pretty good, and you guys got to go to different places, invite people into the Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
True.
And everything. I kind of liked it from what he's saying. So it's going to be a 10 for me. And there's a spider on my thing, so I got to go kill it real quick.
Okay.
All right. When it comes down to me, the story is very good. I'm going to straight up say, and thank God it was written by freaking Ed Boon, because if it was written by anyone else, I honestly would have hated this movie even more. But for them having Ed Boon as part of the writing and directing, I think that's what happened. Or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. No, it was written by Kevin Droney. Never mind. I hate it. I'm kidding. But no. Honestly, it's really nice that I heard that they actually did get Ed Boon to help out with how the story was supposed to go, so it followed mainly with the game, which again, it's pretty cool. But there is a couple of things that I kind of wish they went a little bit more detail on. Like, as you see in the original game, when they give the backstory of all the characters, they never mention anything about Sonya Blade ever meeting Kano. At all. Or at least, that's what I don't... maybe it's been a long time since I played the game, but I don't remember that much. I know they mentioned it in Mortal Kombat 9, which is technically basically a remake of the original trilogy. I
think that's the one I saw.
But yeah, for what it's worth, though, I honestly think that it's pretty decent in all things considered. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to say the least. I am gonna give it a 10 though, because it is very cohesive, very easy to follow, just like the original game. So it's not too complex in a way. So, actually, no. Why did they bring Liu Kang's brother into this? He never had a brother in the game.
But that's not the point. The point is that you have to understand that for the movie in itself, he had to come to terms. This is where Shang Tsung had the advantage over him, because he had a weakness, right? And that's what he had to confront. The last thing he had to confront before he can beat Shang Tsung was to actually go up there and confront the loss of his brother.
Yeah, true, but
that's
never mentioned from the game.
But that's okay. But this is the movie, and this is the movie that go up there to illustrate a point where this is something. See, the thing is, guys, you have to understand that if you go up there and you're trying to find something right now that it was going to have a very, very traumatic, almost like a PTSD type of a moment for him, because he felt himself being ultimately responsible for his brother's death, 100%. That's the reason why that he fled the temple. That's the reason why he went to the United States. He was trying to forget his past and his destiny, what he was destined to be, because and then it was. But that's fine.
Giving it a 9.
Well, that's fine. I don't mind. You can go ahead and give it what you want. But what I'm saying is that just because you can't find that story in there, because you didn't see the turmoil when they were going through that in the video game either.
Yeah, but that's the reason why. He's literally... I guess you could say that this almost reminds me of the Superman situation. That they gave Superman a tragic backstory. Why the heck would you ever need one for a dude who's basically the eternal good guy, who Liu Kang is?
Well,
why would you do that? It's unnecessary.
No.
Hell, he was a compelling character even before they added that storyline for the movie.
No, but the point is,
thank you.
But the point is, if you're out there, like when we started the movie, right, and you see the movie right over there, you didn't really fully understand the full turmoil. You just knew that there was something deep rooted in him that is causing him to have all of these
I feel like we're
things.
having a reversal because
no,
I'm just saying it just feels really funny that there's a reversal.
Well, it's a reversal because
we talked about Superman before.
No, but what I'm trying to know, but the thing is, what makes him the eternal good guy, even having all of this adversity over here, to always side for good and not go towards evil until they change the storyline, which was stupid. But what I'm trying to say, when you're talking about the eternal good guy that had a really, really traumatic past and still able to stay good in some of the worst situations that is out there, that he could very easily fall off the bus, jump from the train, however you put it, and then go to the side of the dark. But what I'm trying to say here is, it's the same premise. He is leaving his destiny because of something that he had no control over but felt absolutely responsible for. And then you got to understand. Then he's at full turmoil the whole time. He doesn't want to do it, but everybody knows that he is the one to make it happen. They had to go up there and convince him that every man has his destiny. Every man does its action. Every man follows his path. That's what it is. He went to challenge things and lost. That was his doing, not yours. You did not do it. So he had to confront that. And Shang Tsung knew exactly how to utilize that emotion to go up there and break him down. You remember when the spikes came up and stuff like that? Yep. He didn't even know the spikes was coming up. And then he finally realizes what Raiden told him, that, you know what, every man chooses his destiny. And when he realized that his brother's destiny was this, then he had to honor his brother.
You are really trying to defend this movie, aren't you?
No, I'm not trying to defend the movie. I'm just saying is that the premise of him going and he's under turmoil, it makes sense in the movie.
But I'm going to say one more thing before we just end this whole thing. They did it better in Avatar: The Last Airbender, better than this movie. Let's move on. I'm sorry.
Can I read what Phoenix Fire said?
What?
All right. From our last thing about Liu Kang, he's talked about limitation for boss fights for certain games really wouldn't evolve until 2000s. How long did they take it so you could actually do a fatality or brutality or babality to Shao Kahn?
A babality.
Your minds open up with these discussions as your mind opens to new possibilities, not just your own view.
Yeah,
very true.
At least they didn't ruin it like they did to Super Mario Bros. Movie, like I read off to you.
Okay, yeah, that's the reason why I gave it a 9, because it could have been so much worse. And I'm so grateful for the writing team that did do it.
I'm just saying is I really like the storyline to me. This is the reason why I gave it a 10. The storyline to me, as the way they did it and the way that he had to confront that last fear before he can defeat Shang Tsung.
Okay.
In the battle itself.
Okay, we can stop now. Okay?
Don't make me beat you.
I want to read the rest of what Phoenix Fire said.
Yes.
Well, my point is, some video game movies are great and actually good depictions, but then you get some that are just horrible nightmares. Not just the actor's fault. It's the writing.
Very true.
He also said Alyssa Soto was smoking hot as Luke in 007 License to Kill. And he's laughing about that.
No.
I don't blame him.
No, Phoenix Fire was right.
Yeah, Phoenix Fire, you're right on that one. All right, now
then he says, well, it makes sense to get input from Ed Boon and John Tobias as MK. There was their baby.
Yes, it was. It was.
They bring in a character that is not in source material. It's to drive the plot forward.
Yes.
You need to extend the story with, he said, it was a typo. You can only do so much with source material, then you're going to run dry.
Yes, true.
run a dry well. You need to extend your story.
True.
Well,
how many times did they take source material from the 007 books and extend it and add things that were not in the book?
Well, if you take a look like Apollo 13, if you take a look at Apollo 13, the movie, right? You remember the turmoil they used to have with Jack and with Jack Swigert and Fred Hayes, right? It never happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You got to understand that if you went up there, it was going to be a 2-hour movie of them going up there, staying calm, cool, and collected, because they're all test pilots.
True.
And they're listening to the people down at Mission Control. Going up there, they said, you know what, it'd be a very boring movie. That's the reason why they brought in all of those things for the movie in itself.
True.
Yeah. So, okay, let's go to characters.
Yeah, thank you. Good Lord.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Not you. It was him.
It's you.
You!
Yeah.
It's okay.
Cry, Retro, cry.
All right. So, when it comes down to characters, this one I'm going to go full on 10, because they are all acted very well. Especially since all of them capture the personalities of those characters in the games. Especially if you go by their storyline. So, well done on them. I am going to give a 10 for this.
Well, I'm giving a 10 for characters, too, because I think each character brought their A game, really. They really brought their A game going into the movie and stuff like that. You know, because Christopher Lambert, when you remember the movie Highlander and stuff like that, so it kind of went with, he was an immortal, here comes Raiden. It made sense at the time. And plus, just having his voice and stuff, I thought really complemented very, very well in the show, being Raiden. But if you take a look, the one that plays Shang Tsung, oh my goodness, Shang Tsung, that guy, he's been in so many movies and stuff like that. He's just a really great actor.
Oh yeah.
And it seemed like everybody seemed to step up at all the right times. If there was going to be what I would consider a weak character, the weak character that I would say would be Liu Kang, because this was Robin Shu. He was a master in martial arts and stuff like that, but not necessarily. This was his first movie.
Makes
type
sense,
of a thing. But you can see that the other characters around really propped him and moved him forward.
Yeah.
And stuff. So I have to tell you, to me it was a 10. I can't go any lower.
Yeah. What about you, Dr. Death?
Well, give me a minute. Okay. From my experience in watching movies, I'm a good movie critic. I mean, I've watched this bunch of movies, but according to what Master Chief said and what you're saying, I have to also, I'm going to give it a 9. Because, well, the one character I love, you all know, it's Liu Kang. Yo. And also, the reason why I'm giving it a 9 is because Liu Kang, according to Master Chief, they could have made a better person take the role of Liu Kang. Like,
but you wouldn't have gotten someone with the best martial arts experience, though. Someone who could actually pull off those moves.
Go ahead.
Bruce Lee.
Well, Bruce Lee's dead.
Bruce Lee's dead, though.
But
I know, but still.
Yeah, I know. If we had, but I think the reason why his character still did very, very well is because the people that he was acting around, the people that was around him,
helped him,
made up for the reasons that he. If you take a look at his martial arts and what he was doing, because he was also the guy that did. He's the one who was the creative person for all of the fight scenes.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that he brought that there. But the other thing is, if you take a look at the other actors and stuff like that, they really stepped up their game at this point to go up there because they knew that he was going to be a little bit deficient in things. But he still did a good job of holding his own there. But it was really nice at how the others were able to make up for some of those deficiencies. So you couldn't even tell 100% that it was. That's what I'm thinking. That's my thought on it.
True. That is true. But I'm still gonna keep it a 9.
Okay.
Because, well, I'm a hard freaking what is the word I'm looking for?
Well, how about this?
Like
how about this? How about this? If you have a chance and you can watch Mortal Kombat the movie, just go ahead and watch it and then just see, because maybe the next time when we come back on, you might say, you know what? After watching the movie, I can adjust the scores and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but then it'll be too late.
Yes. Well, let's get to the fun one right here, because this is
music.
Yeah, this is music.
I'm sorry. 10.
10. Do we need to say more?
No.
1. I'm gonna be the stick in the mud. I'm saying 1. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm like, I would go over to Arizona and murder you.
Yeah, now we're gonna take 30 days.
Techno Syndrome did an amazing job with the soundtrack.
Oh yeah, they did it really
good. Me and Master Chief actually listened to the entire soundtrack.
Oh yes, it was very good.
Jaw-dropping amazing.
Yes,
I'm going to base my rating off of your guys'. I'm going to say 10 too.
Yes, I'm telling you, it is.
I said I'm a 1.
The soundtrack is good, but the thing is, the music really it really made the movie. Just like we always said, it's always going to make the movie.
Yeah. All right, and now we're going to go into design. Oh, I am going to be so freaking critical at this.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna give it a 9.
A 9?
And the reason why I say I'm giving it a 9 and not a full-on 10 is the fact that, the designs were very, they were very good. Everything flowed and stuff like that. I guess that if we had to do it, if they had to do it again, I don't know. I just think it
oh, trust me.
The only part that I seem to have the hardest time with was kind of like at the final scene, with when it's Liu Kang and Shang Tsung going at it. Even though then when everything came back up, with all the spikes and everything, but there's just something, I don't know. There was just something about the final fight scene.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I think it was the design, just the way everything came back up, and really when he went down and he hit, it just didn't make, I just didn't like how he died.
All right, so I'm now gonna give my full absolute hatred for this movie.
Hey, don't be too rude, okay?
1, that is rated. What would I say? PG-13. So where's the gore? Seriously, one of the most integral parts of Mortal Kombat is the damn gore. Where is it?
That is true.
There's no fatalities, no special moves that really work out. And what is with that whole snake thing that comes out of Scorpion's hand? It's a rope dart. Get it right, people. Second of all is, yes, the fight scene with Shang Tsung. Oh, come on. You guys could have written that so much better. Hell, he could have been impaled in several places, yet still be alive. Break off the spears, climb back out, then start fighting Shang Tsung with everything he has left in him. That would have been a much better fight scene. Good Lord. And yes, for as much as I do like the design of Goro, I also think it is very clumsily made. I could tell he was fake from the moment I looked at him. They could have done so much better. I don't know why they absolutely messed up everything about this movie. They should have made it a rated freaking R movie. That way they can get away with all the gore and violence they need to and make sure that it stayed faithful to Mortal Kombat.
Okay, so let's go back to 1995.
I don't care.
Wait a second. Let's go back to wait a second. Time out. Let's go back to 1995. I can tell you how old you were at 1995. Okay? So let me go up there and explain to you 1995 for you, okay? And for all the other people out there. I'm not trying to say that is all. Those are all very, very good points, and they are. I'm not taking away from that at all. But we go back to 1995. At that particular time frame, what we're doing is, if you take a look on how they were making movies at the time, it was still kind of Hitchcock type of suspense type of things that's going on, where they still wanted the imagination, but they still used computer generated graphics to go up there to kind of still give you a little bit of a visual, but still wanting you to kind of go up there and try to make you more involved into the movie back then. Now, back in 1995, back in even 86, there was a lot of feel-good movies. So you had to kind of balance the two together right over here. And they wanted to try to still, because it was a video game first, they still tried to make it more family-friendly. But still, going up there, you notice there were some good comedy parts in it. There was a lot of other things in there. So during the actual point in 1995, the movie was made exactly during that time frame, and how the generations actually looked at it. Now, of course, it's kind of like this. When I all the React videos that you show me and stuff like that how none of these kids could understand about how graphics were back then. But you have to understand that we saw graphics as like in Pong, where there was just either a rectangle or a square, making a boop, 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 like this.
Don't bring that
Now, wait a second.
into this.
No. But it makes perfectly good sense. Is that you're taking what your mindset is and the generational fact right over here and trying to take something from 1995 and going up there and saying that this is what it all should have been. But as I said, at some point you do have to take in account that was 1995.
But here's my argument. Here's my argument, though. First of all, during that time, there were a lot of good movies that exploited gore, but were not necessarily horror. They could have easily done something like that. Because remember, this is also during the advent of the movie Spawn. Spawn got away with a lot for its time. And yes, I know it's a crappy movie, but here's the thing. This was honestly one of the few movies that at least tried to go for the full-on makeup and effects that could have been possible for 1995. Look at movies like, and yes, I'm going to go down the horror route. Let's look at Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Michael Myers with Halloween. Those movies that use practical effects to make their gore great and amazing, while also still being able to give that suspense, thriller edge, while also having a cohesive story. So why couldn't they do that for Mortal Kombat? I don't know why.
Well, and you got to remember that you're going from a video game to a movie. And all I'm trying to say is, at this particular point, it's just like anything else, is that I think back then, video games were still, I'm not trying to say like when Doom came out and all these other different things, but it was still some
Actually, let's
sort
make
of
a good example. Look at Doom. That game was extremely violent and gory, yet they made the movie and it was almost dumbed down to a stupid degree.
But we'll discuss Doom we'll do another.
But yeah, that's an
example. We'll do another game movie later. But what I'm saying is, for 1995 and probably the way they wanted it to work, I think they went with that route there. Now, is it the proper route? No. You've already made the big thing on it. But for me, it was a proper route at the time. Because at that time, I'm going back to 1995, and I remember the movie immensely well. Mm-hmm. So, and I mean, that was one right over there that I was thinking, that it made sense to me. It did. Mm-hmm. So I gave it a 9 just because I just didn't like the end scene. I didn't like the fight scene in itself. The one thing I did like that I thought was really neat is when the souls got a chance. I mean, he had 1,000 years of souls within him, just to go up there and watch them all go. They were able to be released, and I really liked that part. It just, as I said, that is a quintessential 90s movie. So that's the reason why I went with that.
Yeah.
But I'm not disregarding what you're saying, because if I was you now, trying to reflect back to a 1995 movie, you actually nailed all the points there. That why couldn't we do this?
Especially with the great practical effects we've had over the course of 50 years before this movie came out.
But you have to understand that this is the way they decided to go. They still had things that was still shock and awe value, but still a family could be able to go see it.
Yeah.
So, but you got to understand that's just.
I'm still giving it a 5.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I'm not telling. But as I said, this is the great thing about having generational people talk, is because you're going to go up there. Like for me, you're going to say something over here on a newer movie, and I'm going to go, no, it'd be the opposite what you're saying right now. You know what I mean? So it goes that way.
All right, what about you, Dr. Death?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just too busy enjoying this little debate right here. I was eating my Cheez-Its and just listening. I was like, oh
and
my
you
God,
didn't even share. You are a bastard. No.
How can you share all the way over in Arizona?
I can't go all.
All right, so what are your opinions so far from what you've heard from us?
Well, I have to say these Cheez-Its are awesome. They're a 10.
Okay.
Yeah, very funny.
Well, first I'm gonna read what Phoenix Fire said, and then I'll give my opinion on what you guys said from your guys' point of view. Well, another good example is Titanic. James Cameron took some information from the actual disaster, then added some stuff that wasn't really important, but just did to keep you interested in the story. It's like MK. They included stuff to keep your eyes on the screen. When you're making a movie, you really want to keep your people glued to their seats or have their eyes on the screen at all times. Not expecting a walkout. You would like to appeal tastes of the audiences.
Oh yeah, I completely
that's the joy and risk of your movie. Of movies, you think it is good, but will the audience think that? Back in the 90s, we weren't as judgmental as we are now. Plus, things are more political, whereas back in the day, we were more laid back with political opinions and viewing movies. And he just said, I'm not sharing my Taki, so piss off.
Also, first of all, okay.
LMFAO to my Cheez-Its.
No, my Cheez-Its.
Screw
Okay.
you.
All right, first of all, I am actually going to make an argument to Phoenix Fire. We actually were a lot more attentive in the 90s than we ever were today. We have gotten away with a lot more.
No. What he's saying is that back in the day, we could all have political differences and opinions.
Yeah, that part, yes.
Yes, but we're talking about. He was talking about the judgment. Today, it's either you believe this way or you're going to get attacked. You know, there's no dialogue anymore. Back in the 90s, 80s, 90s, up to about the mid to late 2000s. It really was about that we could be able to be politically different and still be able to talk, and at the end of the day have a beer. Nowadays, if you don't like this candidate or this, people unfriend you. And it goes back and forth. So I guess the point is that now back in the 90s, just like the 80s, it was a feel good time. It was very laid back. We were transitioning to bigger and better things when you think about it, too. Internet came alive. All of a sudden, the world was our oyster,
Sure.
And I think that's and that's the problem. I wish we can get back to where we can still go up there, argue a point, and still drink a beer at the end of the day.
True.
Oh,
But
yeah.
all right, so what about you, Dr. Death? What would be your score for design?
Well, from what you guys are saying, from Mr. Retro and from Miss Master Chief, I'm not going to be as judgmental as Retro, and I'm going to give it a 7 for what I heard.
Okay.
Because
that's right in the middle.
I feel like you literally targeted me that little statement.
No, he didn't target you.
What of it?
He
No,
was
I didn't target you.
telling you right over there that you were just a little bit, that's all he said.
Judgmental. You were a little bit harsh. If you want me to target you, I will target you, and I will say you were absolutely hard. I'm just kidding.
All right, so now we're gonna.
What I heard. No, I'm not done. You can't.
Eat your Cheez-Its! No.
No. You don't listen to what I say.
All right.
Now, as I was saying.
Yeah.
From what Master Chief said and from what you said, I mean, it does have its flaws. It does have its pluses. But the reason why I'm rating it a 7 is because I'm comparing those both, and I'm just trying to make some solid ground.
Yeah, hit a
and
middle
try
ground.
to come in the middle of what you guys are saying.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say it's a 7 because of, well, they still had to go places. I mean, the scenery might have been good. I mean, I understand you guys are arguing about the fight with Shang Tsung, I'm not going there because, well, I haven't seen the movie, but I'm planning on seeing the movie after this.
Oh, you're gonna love it. You'll love the movie.
You'll still love it.
The scenery should be good. The characters, I mean, apart from Liu Kang, should be pretty good. And the fight scenes, I mean, yes, the gore needs to be there. If it's not there,
well, then I will tell you right now. Then you gave it the right score because you're not going to see the gore as in there. You know what I'm trying to say. So you made the right score.
Yeah, the only gore that's in this movie. The only gore I see is the neck snap and the nut punch.
Well, that's just
which
because
honestly
that was iconic. That was
painful.
And that was
not painful as in bad. It was badly choreographed. It just looked like it hurt.
Oh yeah. So and then he said, Phoenix Fire. I agree with him. He's going up there. He said, he says we have friendships unlike the old days where we could disagree but still remain friends. The internet makes things harder now to enjoy things we took for granted back in the day. But let me tell you something too, is that if you start taking a look at what the internet did is took away everybody's ability to have an experience. Yeah. So everybody likes to go up there, and it's funny because, being a guy that's older, I have a lot of people, well, I saw that on TV, I've done this and da-da-da-da-da, and I'm like going up there, I saw it on YouTube, and I'm like going, okay, well, you're using somebody else's experience to go up there and try to derive what your experience is.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it right, but it doesn't make it 100% wrong either. It just didn't come from you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you start taking a look back in the days, we were still able to get. I mean, take a look. The phenomenon of Star Wars, right?
True.
So the phenomenon of Star Wars back in 1977 was just word of mouth.
Very true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so what all the internet did was, the internet gave us the ability to travel the world. The internet gave us the ability to go up there and see
people around the world.
And connect with people and try to bring it together, but it's also isolated us at the same time.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's just start talking about politics. we got to go atmosphere, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
And atmosphere.
I'm gonna just get this over with. I'm giving it a 7.
Okay.
I'm sorry. The only reason why that, and here is the only thing that I'm giving the downgrade on, is that there is, and yes, I mentioned this before, is that one of them was the fight scene.
Yeah.
They could have done that a little bit better. And second, and this is honestly the reason why I gave the most docked points for, no gore. That's the only thing that, because everything else was fine.
Oh yeah,
some of the scenes were amazing on the atmosphere, but then there were other times where it should have had, that if you had the gore, it would have been a lot more shocking, a lot more in your face, and you're literally feeling the pain, the misery, the absolute despair the characters are going through, to make them feel like that this was real. You were watching these characters die and die horribly.
Well, I think sometimes that you don't always necessarily need that to go up there and portray.
I know.
You remember the one fighter going in that faced Goro the first time into the ring, right? Mm-hmm. He went around, he turned, and you saw the absolute fear in him.
Like I said,
as he was,
those scenes like that are good. Those show the actual emotion. But I just wish that some of the other ones, they could have done so much more.
Well, and I think, what was the one when Liu Kang took on that one fighter at the beach, mm-hmm. was where the guy looked up right at him, and Shang Tsung went down there and took his soul, right, because he lost. And he goes flawless, and I mean, and he took it right, and with his hand, and and that right over there, you saw the sheer terror, what was going to happen. He knew what was going to happen. You didn't need blood, you didn't need gore there.
True, of course.
Now, the only reason why that I've been debating between an 8 and a 9 on the atmosphere alone on this was because, like I said, when you have the fight scene in itself. Out of all the fight scenes that's there, I thought the Johnny Cage Goro one was actually the one right over there that could have been the final. It made better sense to me. I mean, he took charge. He said, "This is our fight. We're going to do this," and that's what Raiden wanted. Raiden wanted he wanted the Earth to go up there and take control of this.
Yeah.
That's the reason why that he did what he did.
True.
I think the thing is that it, as I said, that it really was the final scene. The final scene was such a letdown. The only great thing about the end of the scene is the releasing of the souls, which I thought was that was really flippin' cool. But I really came back down to it that I go, it wasn't even really a good end.
So what would you give it?
Oh, I'm going to give it a 9. I'll give
9. All right. What about you, Dr. Death?
What? I was sleeping. What? I'm just kidding. I'm trying to get a little humor into the chat.
Yeah, you. All right, so too much tryptophan on Thursday.
True enough. What would you rate atmosphere for this movie? And after hearing what we had to say.
Well, it smelled pretty stinky, so it's a 1. I'm kidding. From what you guys said, I'm gonna have to right in the middle. You said a 7, right? And he said a 9.
A 9, yep.
You gonna go 8?
I'm gonna go 8.
Yeah.
Right. That way it's 7, 8, 9.
There you go.
So,
but the reason why I'm saying an 8 because, well, according to what you guys said, I'm gonna say they could have made the atmosphere a little bit more horrific and scary from what you guys said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the gore is the main reason why I'm gonna say 8 because, well, what's Mortal Kombat without the gore?
Thank you.
It's just a normal fighting game.
Well, I as I said,
it would be basically a copy off Street Fighter.
Well, and all I was saying is the fact that, to me, that didn't really play into it for me at all. I didn't need that because there was other things in there that really made the suspense go, and I think that's what, for me anyway. So I'm just saying.
Actually, I'm going to say this. Mortal Kombat, the movie, 1995 movie, is a better Street Fighter movie than Street Fighter the movie.
Oh my! The Street Fighter the movie sucked.
Exactly.
So
Mortal
bad.
Kombat did better in that field than even Street Fighter ever did.
But the thing is it was like this. It was they had a great actor in the guy who played Gomez. I can't remember his name right now. You remember in Addams Family? He is a superior actor in any right. But I think what they did was that they made it too. They made it too video gamey instead of making it a movie.
Though you have to admit, though, that's kind of the reason. That's
the
reason why.
But the thing is that
though they could have went the Super Mario Brothers route, and no.
Well, no, but
that could have been worse.
But I think the thing is too is like you had Jean-Claude Van Damme, which as I said, everything was good.
I can't believe they didn't put him in the Mortal Kombat movie.
Well, they said it was licensing, but
I mean like in the movie.
Oh, but this is the point though. If they would have utilized the Mortal Kombat way of doing the movie, I can tell you that would have been a much better movie. The problem is that I think they still tried to make it a movie, and then you can still see the bits and tails of how the video game is. Where when they did the other movie, Street Fighter, and then they had, you know what I mean, and then they had that in there. It had no rhyme to reason. It did not tell any story. There was zero story.
It was absolutely crazy.
It was crazy.
But we'll talk about that movie in another time. Yes. Trust me.
I agree with both of you on this. That's why I'm in the middle of all of this.
Yeah.
But my reasoning for the gore is, well, it would make it more Mortal Kombat-y.
Yes, that's true.
But also I agree with Retro. I mean, no, I also agree with Master Chief because, well, it is true that some fighting type movies, it's not necessary for the gore. But for Mortal Kombat, you got to think, they always have gore.
Exactly, it's the key thing that made it different.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think also is that what they did with the other things to create the suspense and everything else like that,
it did work.
I think it worked very, very well. And as I said, we'll go back to the time frame a little bit too. you're talking about feel-good movies. You're talking about all these other different things, and you're also trying to translate from a video game to a movie.
Yeah,
and
but
still trying to make it somewhat family-friendly, but still give you some of the shock and awe.
That was the one thing that I think they messed up on, is they made it too family-friendly.
But you
got to make it rated R.
Yeah, but you have to understand at the time, if you would have made it R, and they were still, you had kids playing these video games, so there's a relatability to it. Then what you did was you took all of the kids that could not actually go see the movie.
Yeah, I guess marketing-wise, yeah.
So you really have
they were forced into the
situation to do it.
Thank God they made it another Mortal Kombat movie. They kept the gore.
Well, that's
Thank God.
But that was the point. But by that time, age, people get older, more desensitized because of other movies and stuff like that.
True.
Then it made sense. But at the time, this was a huge thing, trying to translate a game to a movie.
Yeah, true. And not to mention the Mortal Kombat movie did gross over
it was
over $120 million in the box office, and the
thing,
budget was only $20 million.
And could you just imagine if they did not have the kids able to go see?
It definitely would have been harder.
Now you think it would have had the $120 million?
It would have been around maybe $60 million. It would have cut it in half.
It would have cut it in half. Exactly.
All right, so here are the scores. Mine was 40, became a 41. Dr. Death's was 45, now 44. And
my God.
Yours relatively stayed the same.
Yes.
Mine dropped by 1 point.
All right, now,
Master Chief.
And of course, if you guys are wondering if we're going to do Mortal Kombat 2 and Mortal Kombat Annihilation, well, let's just say this. You will see a lot of low scores when we review it.
Yeah.
But it's not an absolute crap storm.
Okay. So are we? This is where we do
Retro Evolution.
Retro Evolution. Yes.
Yeah, Retro Evolution is pretty easy, guys. Basically, if you were given the point in the director's chair, what would you change about it and why? I think it's pretty easy for both these movies, honestly, for what it's worth. The movie and the games.
But if you're going over there, I mean, honestly, if there was going to be two things that you change, and one for the video game was the final cut. I can't.
That's the movie.
I mean for the final fight scene in the movie. If they would have done, they could have done something so much better than the way they did it.
Yeah.
And same thing with Liu Kang's character on the actual Mortal Kombat. To actually go up there and make the fatality, actually match.
Actually, I just realized something. There's actually a bit of a parallel. The crappy scene in the final fight scene with his fatality. It's actually kind of funny.
Well, so now you're starting to take a look at probably the reason why they could not. Maybe now we can be able to say now we understand why they could not figure out Liu Kang at all, because it was such a crappy ending.
Yeah.
That's all just me, though.
And of course, the game came out 4 years after.
Yeah, and as I said...
What about you, Dr. Death?
Yeah, but that's the only two things I would change.
I'm going to let Master Chief finish.
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
Are you sure you're done? Obi-Wan. All right.
Have you put Cheese Whiz on your frickin', cheese snacks?
Nope.
I wouldn't recommend it. That's way too much.
No, that's perfect, man. That's like cheese on cheese. That's on cheese with crunchy cheese. Oh, hell yeah.
I would rather have the Cheez-Its with grilled cheese.
Are we going to talk about Cheez-Its, or are we going to talk about Mortal Kombat?
Let's talk about Mortal Kombat, okay?
Yeah.
Let's put that blood on that Cheez-It.
Yeah. All right. What would you do if you were in the director's chair of both the game and the movie? What would you change about it and why?
Well, let's take it from this point of view. I'm leaving the movie. I see this horrible freaking fatality of Liu Kang's on the on the movie. And I say, cut! Bring in the backup! I tell them to freaking do a freaking punch them in the gut, take out their heart, and eat the heart. I would work on the fatality.
All right.
On the video game, and on the movie, I would work on, well, according to you guys, the fight scene with Shang Tsung and Liu Kang.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, well, that seems to be the most. And the reason why I'm saying the fatality of Liu Kang, because, like I said, Liu Kang is my favorite character.
Yes.
And they fucked it up. So bad.
When it comes down to me, though...
With the somersault and the freaking uppercut.
Well, you remember. Well, wait till you see the final scene, and I'm starting to understand why the fatality was so lame. Because of the fact is, because the actual fight scene was lame, and so they didn't know which way to go with it. Probably. Yeah. So they just thought this would be awesome, and it really wasn't.
Yeah. All right. Here's me. Though this did come out after Mortal Kombat 2, and he had the dragon literally eating his opponent for a fatality. As well as dropping the Mortal Kombat arcade on top of them. So, why couldn't they do that? I'm sorry. But yeah, here we go.
Why couldn't they?
Here's alright, so here's what I would do. First, actually, technically, they tried doing that in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. It was total crap. So, never mind. Let me see. First, for the movie, add gore. Make it rated R. But that's just me, though. If they were... Basically, make the more modern Mortal Kombat movie and make that. Except, you can make that with practical effects. With the game... Well, the game is actually a little bit tougher. Yeah, fix Liu Kang's fatality. That's pretty obvious. But the other is that I think, if anything, that if they were to if maybe they tried to fix the graphics and the gameplay and the music on the Super Nintendo version, they did that to make it more similar to the Sega Genesis, then I would say, yeah, you pretty much got yourself a perfect game.
Well, I think another thing, too, is when you start taking a look, too, is that... I agree with Phoenix Fire on this one right here, is the fact that you had... Because, see, with Sega Genesis, everything was third party.
True.
So I
think Nintendo should have been third party on that one.
But no, the problem with Nintendo is they do everything in-house. So they were already probably working on a game, then had to tell their design team to stop, and then storyboard and get everything working for the for Mortal Kombat. And that's where the difference lies. Because if you take a look, Sega never really had its own, except for probably Sonic, right? Sonic is the only one that actually
Sonic,
I think there was
Vector Man.
Yes,
those are examples.
But a lot of the other stuff was always third party. So you got to understand that the concept and everything, all they had to do was find a third party company to go up there and here's my vision, this is what we want to do, go forth, here's money, make it work.
Yeah, the only reason why is that they made Donkey Kong Country so well, so it just seems weird. Anyway, that would be honestly my particular choices on how I would change it. Alright, we only have 3 questions for each of us for today. So this will be pretty much the end of it here once we're done. First, we got one for Master Chief, of course. What would be, if you were to personally add your own character to, like, a character that you would love to see in Mortal Kombat, like maybe Mortal Kombat 12, who would you like to see either return to the series, or would you like to add to the series?
Well, I think when you start taking a look on how, like explosive the whole Super Smash Brothers, the just that whole thing there, you would love to be able to see cross platforms and stuff like that. I think would just do really, really well. I mean, honestly, to even throw some Final Fantasy, in there, like Cloud and those things in there too, I think would be a really great thing. But there's so much to choose from, and stuff like that too. So I don't know if I could go with a character as that I would like for them to go up there and say, hey, let's bring in this, and be surprised with what they think would work really, really well in that Mortal Kombat scene.
You're still not answering the question.
Well, for me, I'm always going to say Master Chief. That's my thing. Master Chief's mine.
Oh,
I don't know. Would that really work in Mortal Kombat?
Oh, yes, it will, because he will go up there and remember he's the Master Chief and he's
Chewie.
Talking. Nope, Master Chief. He's my.
Because I would love to see him rip the arms off of his opponent.
Oh, I would love that too. But however, Master Chief's my guy.
All right, Dr. Death, what's yours?
Well, you know that I'm a big Lucario fan, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say
I was waiting for that to come in. I was waiting.
Because Lucario is gonna probably get torn up immediately in Mortal Kombat. He would not last.
All right.
So I'm gonna go with Chuck Norris.
I can see that working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Chuck Norris because he's a freaking. He uses his everything to his advantage.
Yeah.
They already have freaking
his special move could be his third fist that comes out of his chin.
Yes, exactly. It comes from his beard.
I mean, they already have RoboCop in there. They also have
Terminator and all that other stuff.
Hey, if you're gonna go down that road, we gotta put in Sega Sanshiro.
Yeah, well, yeah, but they're still fighting, so he can't come on. So anyway,
they can't.
No, they're still fighting.
Honestly, if I were to say a character that would work very well, Fulgor from Killer Instinct.
Yeah.
Okay.
That could really work, honestly. And then not to mention, it'd be a cross between two franchises, just like Street Fighter and Tekken did, even though that was a complete failure.
Yeah, true. And that was a failure.
All right, here we go with the next question.
Yes.
Next question. Do you think any of the characters from Mortal Kombat could survive in a horror movie setting, such as a small town where all of your favorite horror film villains just so happen to live there?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It would be an interesting
because
mix.
when you start taking a look at it right over there, they would be the epitome of going up there and
massacring the entire group.
Yes, exactly. Basically they are the nightmares that scare those guys.
Honestly, if anything, I think the one person they would have trouble with is Freddy Krueger, because he's the ability to teleport and then, of course, attack your dreams.
Well, yeah, but you got to remember, you have other.
Not to mention, Jason's also immortal.
Well, but you got to remember, there's also immortal people in.
It would be a never-ending fight with him and freaking Raiden.
Exactly. Right now, basically what's going to happen is that you got. It's just like Chuck Norris and
Sega Sanshiro.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. They're just going to be fighting forever.
Until their bodies are pretty much turned to ash.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, I think it would definitely be more of a nightmare for the villains in this case. Yeah. Not to mention, Shang Tsung would, of course, absorb Freddy Krueger with his power. Well, and he can absolutely just use his ability to attack in dreams.
The thing is, he be able to do all of them. That's the thing. They're not going to be able to go away.
Very true. All right. Last one. Actually, no. There's one more.
Me?
Oh, yeah. I forgot. You. What's your call?
You forgot me. Of all people on Twitch, you forgot me.
You were too busy eating your Cheez-Its.
Yeah, man.
I was eating them right now. Okay. Mine, I have a good reason. I think they would all struggle. Because, A, they would be busy fighting the, I think they would survive and fail. A, they would team up against the villains, but then they would turn on themselves and try to fight themselves too.
Okay, I could actually see that.
Okay.
From the people from the underworld, whatever you want to call it, and the villains, they would probably get confused at why they're fighting amongst themselves and just sit back and just watch them fight themselves, wait for the people to weaken, and then the villains would try to come in and attack them where they're most vulnerable. So that's why I say they will survive at some point, and then they will not. So they will and will not.
The only reason why I'm saying that it would actually be more of an absolute just massacre is because, well, for one thing, the horror movie villains have faced down the Mortal Kombat characters before. Take a look at Mortal Kombat 9, 10, and 11. There are horror movie characters in them. So, yeah, it would definitely be interesting to see all of them literally say, oh, crap, they're here again, and then just get massacred.
I think the main thing is, too, is you got to remember that with horror, with basically the horror villains and stuff like that, it's kind of a finite time. You're talking about creatures and people that's gone through 10 different millennia, and stuff like that, generational things over here too. you know, so you're not talking. These guys have a finite set of time, but like you got Shang Tsung is 1,000 years old, or you have Goro who that's like what 500. I don't remember. 2,000 years old. So when you're talking about that, you're talking about people that lived immense amounts of time and stuff and been
years
around.
Of experience.
And so you have the experience. These guys don't even know what evil is. They only know what their one part of evil is in their franchise. These guys know evil from 1,000 to 2,000 years right over here, my friend. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking a century.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. The next question is, if you guys were to choose video game characters from your favorite companies, such as Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, for example, since they own Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation, what characters would you like to see from those consoles make it into Mortal Kombat?
Oh, where do I begin?
For
Top three? Do we do top three?
Why would you? Yeah.
Let's go with top 3 for each of them. Yeah.
Or just top 3.
All right. You guys go first.
All right. For Nintendo, personally, I've already seen Link in Soul Calibur, so it would be pretty awesome to see him come into Mortal Kombat. But however, at the same time, it wouldn't work. He's more of a sword fighter. It makes sense he's in Soul Calibur. So, if anything, I would love to see freaking Captain Falcon.
Oh,
as
yes.
one.
Captain Fabulous for you.
Man, Captain Falcon would be a good one.
Yeah. Second,
I think that would be good.
Second, for Nintendo, would of course be Mario. Because I think it would be pretty awesome to see him use his fire abilities to range, like he spits out fireballs at a range, and still be able to attack. Because he has moves that work well in a fighting game like that. Like his spin.
Well, true, but
like his tornado spin and all that. The third one, for Nintendo, that's a tough one, honestly. Because, but if I were to choose, Ganondorf.
Oh my God!
Because he can do well.
Absolute beast in Mortal Kombat.
He would be a beast. Yes, I would.
Especially since he has almost around the same amount of time as Raiden and the others.
Yes.
He's pretty old and pretty damn powerful, so it works out.
No, but that makes sense right there too.
Yeah.
And stuff. But
right.
but I think for me anyway, I'm just trying to remember back to all the what do you call it, the Nintendo stuff. But
that's just a Nintendo.
No, but that's just Nintendo right there. No, I mean for me, Captain Falcon has always been one of my favorite characters and stuff like that. So of course a Captain Falcon would go, but a Ganondorf would be another. But I think Samus. I think it would be
too damn easy because again, her gun.
Yeah, but I think the thing is too. But there's other guns in there too. I'm just saying is that if you were going to go up there and say there's a fight and stuff like that, I would still think that she would be competitive.
True.
Would she be dominant? Maybe not. But I think that she would be highly competitive though.
True.
During that.
What about you, Dr. Death?
Well, you're probably gonna hate my choices. Well, one of my choices. Well, not understand it, but now that I look at it, some of the Smash Brother characters could fit into Mortal Kombat. Like you guys said, Samus.
Yes.
And also Captain Falcon. Now I'm gonna look at it in a different point of view. I'm gonna actually choose one of the Pokemon on there, and I'm gonna say Lucario actually might have a chance. But they have to beef him up a whole bunch.
Honestly, his Aura Sphere would really work as like a ice ball thing, like Sub-Zero.
You can even think of Mewtwo could go up there.
Mewtwo could work, yeah.
Yeah, could work very, very well in there too.
Yeah, his ability to stun, be able to confuse his opponents.
Yeah,
all that.
His psychic ability all on its own.
Alter he can alter confusion. And not only would you be in confused state, all the controls are reversed.
But you kind of almost like how Bayonetta could go up there. You know how she slows time and stuff like that.
True.
His confusion could do the exact same thing.
True. For Microsoft,
that's Lucario.
Okay.
My second character.
Yes.
I'm gonna think hard and long about this. Well, Ryu. might stand a chance in Mortal Kombat.
Well, actually, no. You can't. No, what we're going is that when you're in Mortal Kombat, it's going to be basically what.
I would think Akuma.
Well, yeah, but I think
because that dude will murder.
I think honestly, when you start taking a look at any fighting game, I think any fighting game translates back and forth over here, and stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if you're taking Ryu is in Street Fighter, it is a fighting game. He understands what it's going to take to be in a fighting game. You know what I'm trying to say? Now, if you're going to try to take Cloud or somebody else, that's not it's
Cloud would go well with Soul Calibur.
Yeah, but now which one is the evil guy? I can't the one with the freaking long sword.
Oh, Sephiroth. No, that's Soul Calibur for him too.
Yeah, so you know what I'm trying to say. I mean, there's a lot of things too. You can bring in Bayonetta.
Hell, Tifa would work well if she was in Final Fantasy VII because she's a melee fighter. She uses her fists.
No, but what I mean is like Bayonetta too. Bayonetta would be a really good one to be able to bring in.
She's mostly a gunfighter.
Yeah, but still, it doesn't matter. You have gunfighters in there too.
Yeah, but they got rid of him as soon as they end. Like Stryker, he only's been in like maybe 3 games at most in the series.
Well, I guess
they got rid of him because of the gun.
Okay, what's your third one?
Well, my third one. This is hard. I gotta think. I gotta really think. What games have I played that? I want to say Link, but no, I'm not going to say Link.
No, it'd be too easy for him.
I'm going to say Rayman.
Okay, I can see Rayman working.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, but how would you fatality him? His body parts are floating all over.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, you could do a fatality. You can't even fatality him.
Yeah, it wouldn't work.
Yes, you can. You have to put him on fire, burn him alive.
Okay, I can see that.
Okay.
I can see what his fatality would be, taking all of his body parts and putting them on the other person's body and slowly ripping them apart, limb from limb.
Okay.
And then having them come back together and then holding up all the body parts.
Okay.
And then taking the viewer and then freaking throwing the viewer on the ground or something like that. I don't know.
Well, then what
he's actually from Sony.
Okay, so that was a Sony. Okay.
Yeah.
So
me,
what about... Go ahead.
For me, when it comes to Microsoft, I actually have a few characters I could already choose from. One of them, Marcus Phoenix from Gears of War, if we are going to go down the gun route. Mainly because his gun is also a chainsaw. So that could be very useful as a melee weapon.
Yeah, very much so.
Second one would be either Master Chief or the Arbiter when it comes to second choice.
Yeah, no.
Because the Arbiter has been in Killer Instinct, and he has done melee battles before, so... I think it would work very well there. For the third and final for the Microsoft thing, and it's only because they just so happen to own him now, Banjo-Kazooie would be funny.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
It would be funny to see him fight in Mortal Kombat.
You might as well bring the Duck Hunt dog in then.
Jesus Christ.
But I mean...
if I get an excuse to rip that dog and duck apart, I would be happy.
Well, the thing is, too, is like for me, Master Chief the Arbiter would have been number 1 and 2 for me.
Yeah, the third one for me was more of a joke.
Yeah, well, but it's still... It's
funny, though.
It is definitely funny. But, for me personally, I think with all the things, you got everything from Borderlands, you got everything from BioShock, all those other different,
Yeah, but those are multi-platform, too.
I know, I understand that, but I what I'm just trying to say is the fact that I'm just only going to go with those two because that makes sense to me. I think they would do very, very well into the fight and stuff like that.
True.
So I'm just going to leave with those two.
All right.
Yeah.
And now we go with... what about you?
I actually understand. I didn't even think about Borderlands. The franchise, I didn't even think about that. But if I had to choose a fourth character, it would be Salvador.
Okay.
Salvador
he's small though.
But it just still doesn't matter.
Small.
But
it's almost
he packs a punch.
True, but at the same time, it's almost like that situation from GoldenEye. You know that dude with the bolo hat?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that little bastard. I could never even shoot him for how small he was.
Well, you got to understand.
He was basically the ultimate cheat code.
Well, you have to understand, though, but in the Bond films, he was a big man. Yeah. He was a big Korean dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so.
When it comes to Sony's, one of them is Snake.
Oh, I was going to say Snake. Because
Snake is very much someone I could see him using mostly melee combat.
The first thing he's
using
going
the bombs to
needs,
help out.
He needs his cardboard box.
Well, of course, you gotta use that at least. Like, say if someone attacked him in this cardboard box, well, guess what? It comes as a counter.
Yes. So,
let me see. For the other one, when it comes to Sony, Crash Bandicoot would be more of a funny one, but one that could work.
What about Joker?
Joker?
From Persona.
Nah, too much use of the gun. And honestly, he uses more of a blade than anything. I'd say he works better than
the reason why I'm asking is the fact that you still have, the thing is that you take a look at what he's going to be doing and stuff like that. I just thought it was, it's a unique choice.
True.
It really is a unique choice. Would he fare well? We wouldn't really know.
True.
But I think he would do okay. I think
Yeah. Well, definitely, if we're going to do a Tekken character, I would definitely like to see Kazuya or Jin return to actually do one of those games. I think it'd be pretty fun to see
I agree.
Someone from there. Or heck, even Heihachi would be an awesome choice.
Yeah.
Heihachi. I like him.
When it comes down to the third and final Sony character, this is really tough, though. And this is me excluding Crash because I think that would just be too mean to him.
Yeah.
Shoot. That's really
mine was top 3 of all time.
Freaking hell! I think I remember this one character. I forgot his name.
What's he from? What game?
What was the game?
Not to sound bad, I'm just not a Sony. I'm not 100% into Sony. So it makes it kind of hard for me to go up there and even, think of characters and stuff like that.
Actually, wait a minute, no.
I understand.
Actually, let's go another Metal Gear Solid character, Raiden.
Okay.
Because even though he does use a sword, back before then, he was able to use melee combat, not just a sword. But if I'm gonna add at least one character from Namco, I'm sorry, Capcom. I meant. If we're gonna add one from them, I would definitely say Akuma from Street Fighter, and from SNK, I would choose. Darn it! What is his name? He's the villain in King of Fighters. Geese Howard. Geese Howard.
Oh.
But yeah, those are the two I would like to see. But that's just me. And now I'm done.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Well, I'm done too because I already told you my 3. Because mine is basically from both Nintendo and Sony.
All right. What about you? Are you done?
I'm done.
All right. Okay, and this is where we're going to end it. This is possibly one of our longest episodes yet. The other one, I think.
Can I actually say something first?
Sure.
I hope you guys really liked what Mr. Retro and Master Chief said in the stream today. I hope you guys like, comment, and turn on post notifications on YouTube. And I hope you follow him on Twitch. And share this video for all of you guys who have friends out there that would love this type of content. Please, we need to get to our 400
our 500 follower goal on Twitch.
500 followers on Twitch, and we need to get a lot more people subscribed to him on YouTube. So please, go out there and go tell everybody to watch Mr. RetroActive. Who knows? We might reach that goal on Twitch. We might reach the goal that he has set for YouTube, which is
100. 100. 200 followers on Facebook.
Facebook, yes.
And 200 followers on Facebook.
Yep.
Please, go tell your friends. Go tell your friends' friends. Go tell your friends' mothers and fathers and, I don't know, tell everybody.
Yes.
Get a microphone and say, come watch Mr. Retros.
Yes.
But that's all I have to say.
Thanks, man. Honestly, just like you said, follow us on Twitch, Facebook, and of course, like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. when it comes down to, we do have this one tradition that we, of course, I have a list right here of movies we're possibly going to be due for future reviews. Some we already have. The Mythbusters Top 10. We'll be doing that one during January, so we've already confirmed on that one. GoldenEye and Perfect Dark we're also doing on January, and same goes with Starship Troopers. So we will be doing that one. But yes, I know some people have been asking me of Kingdom of Amalur, which was Cyro's choice. Then we also have the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Yeah. I don't know whether he said it was the OVA one or the actual live-action animation remake.
Can I actually join that?
Sure, go for it. And of course, we have the Fly original remake for possibly next year for October, along with of course horror movie crossovers. So there is also that. So what do you guys want to see as a future episode?
Master Chief, what would you want to see?
Actually, you know what would really be good is I definitely like the whole video game to movie type of thing.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, so if we can do another video game movie, and stuff like that,
Sonic?
I would be. Sonic would be good. We can even do the horrific Street Fighter one, or we can.
There we go.
You know, there's others out there that we can be able to do. So
I made sure to put that down. All right. So
because that one was actually pretty good. I'm gonna agree with Master Chief.
True.
I liked it. I liked it because it kind of ties in both. We were able to tie in both things.
True. All right. So
I like that.
With that in mind, we will of course be doing this again in the future. So don't forget, we will be doing more of these video game to movies. I think we may do that during March. I think that'd be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes down to our schedule, we still have Roblox on Sunday.
Yep.
We have Monday, possibly D&D and D&D or Mario Party, depending we also of course Tuesday we have sports. Mutant football leagues are turning. We're gonna try to get our season and see if we can do a little bit better than last time. Hopefully try to get an undefeated season this time around. That'd be nice.
You'll get it.
Then we have Wednesday, of course, my day off, meaning I'll be updating the schedule, letting you guys know new games. And of course...
you'll be hanging out with me.
Yep. And of course, if you guys know Wednesday, it's December 1st. Yeah. Which means December is rolling around. Alright, so here's what I have to announce to you guys. December 1st is when the voting for the Discord is going to end. Meaning that we will not be voting anymore on the 12 Days of Christmas, and you guys will have to wait until December 12th rolls around when we get started. December 12th, and of course, we are not counting Saturday, because again, Saturday is RetroActive's Corner. But yes, Sunday though, we are counting that as part of it. So Roblox will not be happening during the 12th to the 24th. Sorry, guys. But however, the reason why is that we are also getting 6 days in both those 2 weeks.
Hater.
Very funny. Come on, you know I would never hate on Roblox. But yes.
I actually have another game we can play on Sunday, tomorrow. I'll talk to you about that after the stream.
Alright, sounds good. Sorry. But yeah, basically Roblox will be continuing, and I'm going to show it on my corner of my screen here. Right here, from the 5th right here, and if we keep going, down. So the 5th, and right here, this will be the only time, and the 28th, which is tomorrow, we'll be doing Roblox, and then the 12th and the 19th is going to be reserved for the 12 Days of Christmas. Okay. Then we're going to go right back into Roblox on the 26th. And if you guys are wondering, yes, we have the 4th, the 11th, the 18th, and the 25th are going to be full-on reviews of Christmas movies. Okay. And I actually have just discussed this with Ice Wolf. Hopefully he'll be there. And along with Rye Guy, Dr. Death, and myself, as we're going to be reviewing a few movies, as well as, of course, Contra, Mace on Fire, myself, and maybe one other guest if they're willing to join. And we're going to review the Netflix movie Love Hard, which is a Christmas rom-com from what I've heard.
Yeah.
I am going to have to watch it. But then we have movies like Home Alone, Die Hard,
yes,
and How the Grinch Stole Christmas will be the 3 Christmas movies.
For that.
Yep, and trust me, guys, these are highly requested. You guys voted not only on some of the platforms I talked to on Xbox and PlayStation, yes, even Nintendo. So I did talk to you guys on there, and you guys have all suggested these movies. So we decided we're going to make all 3 of these movies our official reviews for the month of December. So I hope you guys get a chance to join in. Also, for January 1st, I know a lot of you guys are wondering, are we going to be canceling the RetroActive's Corner for January 1st? No, we're not. But we are going to be canceling Friday for the 31st because I want everyone to celebrate with their families and have a great New Year's Eve. So that way you guys don't have to worry about it too much. You guys can have a fun time. You can spend time with family and friends.
Yeah.
And, well, if you're going to be like me, drinking all the way. I'm kidding. But
I'm going to be having me some alcohol. I'm going to be drunk.
I'm going to be having some champagne like I did last year. And it's going to be really fun.
I'm going to be having some Fireball. I'm going to have some whiskey.
I've never been a big fan of Fireball, personally.
Well, yeah.
It's just
and
stings me too much.
Is like,
Yeah.
I love Fireball.
All right, but still. And one more thing, of course, is that when it comes down to the month of February, we are going to try to get back into doing more of almost like a romance theme. But then I was thinking like, nah. Instead, we're going to make it, hey, instead of romance, how will we show your heart? So we're going to have some more gore. Okay. So don't be surprised. Yeah, so don't be surprised if you see a lot of violent video games in the month of February. So we're going to have some fun with that as well.
Yes.
And one more announcement before we go is that I will be doing a voting for, and this is mainly for like backyard baseball and all that, backyard football, and this is something I wanted to let you guys know about because a couple of you asked me, what about the teams? So I said to them as well as I'm going to say to you guys now, that when it comes down to backyard baseball and backyard football, we are only going to do randomization on the draft. So it's going to be completely random. But, however, you guys will vote who stays and who goes.
Put a dick up your ass. Hey, I am trying to stream. Leave me alone. Oh shit, you couldn't tell me that, Vic.
We got it. Yes.
Yeah, sorry. All right, it looks like he stopped.
Yeah.
He stopped. All right. But yeah, I think something must have happened. But anyway, but yeah, when it comes down to the backyard baseball, backyard football, and backyard basketball and all that, we are going to be doing randomized drafts. So that means we will not be able to let you guys pick the players because honestly, trying to make a list on that would be insane. But we are going to let you guys vote on who leaves, who goes. If a player gets three seasons and they are voted to stay in, then they'll be permanent members of the team. And the only time that we'll switch is when we leave that team to go to another. So, just to let you guys know on that. And, of course, I will, set up a vote for which backyard team you guys want me to play as. So, that'll be pretty interesting. Alright, so,
my team?
Don't worry, we'll be using your team in one of the scenes as well. So, until then, you guys have any final words to say before we go?
No, actually, I want everybody to go up there, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you guys can go up there and be able to be a part of this wonderful, awesome stream that we're doing here today on review of Mortal Kombat and stuff like that. Just remember, if you really like what Retro does, please donate, subscribe to his channel right over here. Because remember, later on, we're going to be doing a subscription-only content for all the people that do subscribe to his channel.
Yep.
And also, as I said, and if you want better content, if you want us to be able to get better stuff also, anytime that you can be able to donate, trust me, it actually goes back towards you because we're going to make sure that we give you the most up-to-date stuff that we can be able to get. All the new things that are coming out, it costs a lot. Sometimes it just costs a lot of money to do. But if you can go up there and make sure that you can give to us, we can always get back to you. We promise that.
Yep.
So other than that, this is MasterChief2011. This young man is signing off.
All right. And what about you, Jack? What about you, Jesper?
Well, like Master Chief said, you guys need to like, comment, and share on all of his platforms. Go visit his website. If you visit his website, it has all the social media on there. You can go to all of his social media, all of his platforms that he streams on. Please, and all my friends that are out there that get a glimpse of this video, please follow this man. He deserves every follow that you guys give him.
Thanks, guys.
He needs to reach his goal of 500 followers on Twitch, 200 on Facebook, and wait, was that 200 on Facebook or 100 on Facebook?
200 on Facebook and 100 on YouTube. As well as 500 on Twitch.
You heard it from him. You need to get up there. You guys need to help him out. Come on, please, guys. For me, all my friends out there, tell your friends, tell everybody. I know I just said this, but I want to make sure I drive the point home. But that's all I'm going to say.
All right.
And this is Jasper signing out. Catch you on the flip side.
All right. Until then, I hope you all have an amazing day. I will see you all next time. This is Mr. RetroActive signing out. Have a great day, everybody.